Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, family. Another Shabbat day. What's today's date? January 18th, 2025. Man, the 18th already. Time is just flying by, ain't it? It's unbelievable. But that's all right. So we got a beautiful lesson in store. Well, let's say very informative lesson. I don't know how beautiful death can be, all depending on the mind frame that you have in understanding death, life and death. So, most people understand death to be something of a horrendous negative energy. That's not necessarily true. But today we're going to get into this. We're going to experience what this is all about. And we're going to talk about some of the different ways in which we, as Hebrew Israelites, properly prepare our beloved for the afterlife, the world to come. So may the Most High be praised in all things. May we learn to honor and revere him and give unto him the best of us during this lifetime, so that when our time comes, which everyone's time will come, but when our time comes, there will be nothing that we remiss. Oh, I wish I would have did this. I wish I would have done that. Oh, only if I was a different person and did that this way. Do those things right now. While you still have the breath, you still have the knowledge and the ability, make those changes today, that if you were on your deathbed and you was reminiscing about the life that you lived, the things that you wish you had done, do them now. So that's how you should begin to focus and live your life. Shabbat Shalom, Ima Sukari. Shabbat Shalom.
Shalom.
And welcome everyone to Beulah Land at Temple Kifari. We're going to get started. We're going to get started. We're going to get started. Well, I know every time y'all come, y'all be like, Princess energy just be like on 20. It's got to be that way, man, because when you sit down and think about the world, it's so depressing. It'll take you in a totally, completely different direction. So therefore, when you come here, we got to get that juice. And that's how we do. May the Most High be praised. So this is that time of the day, family, when we give thanks to the Most High. And there's so much to be grateful for. This is that time of the day when we give thanks to the Most High for whatever it is that we want to be thankful for, that we are thankful for, that we like to thank him for. So now is the time to do so. Who would like to be first? Who would like to be first to thank the Most High for anything special today? All righty. You want to turn your mic on? Because you're a little far away from me today. Because you're a little far away from me today.
Hold on 1 second, you guys. All right, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Lekalam. So thankful and prayerful, and just, in awe of the Most High and his wondrous works. Thanking him for allowing me, to be here today on his holy Shabbat day, his set apart day. Thankful to the Most High for my Horim. May their memory forever be praised. Just thankful for great memories that are being shared with us, great history, all those things about my parents, that some things we never seen or heard before, but we're getting a lot of influx of things coming to us. So I'm grateful for that. I'm grateful for my Ish, for his support, for him being here as a listening ear and support, and just being here, being the man that the Creator has blessed him to be. Grateful to the Creator for my family that I was born into, my family that I have accepted as family and chosen. And so I'm grateful for all of you all, because without you all, life would be so much more harder, lonelier, difficult, all these things. And I believe that the Most High sets people in your lives for a reason, for a time, for a season, and specifically in his divine order to allow things to be and done. So I'm grateful for that. I am grateful for safe journey being here in Philadelphia with this cold weather and this snow on and off. I'm grateful because I was able to last Sunday drive up to New York City to celebrate the 80th birthday of Baba Sundiata Acoli, who was one of the elders, or back in the day, Black Liberation Army soldiers who helped to free Assata Shakur. And so I rode up there with Pam Africa, who is part of the MOVE movement. And then I also rode up there with Teresa Schultz, who her father was a political prisoner, Russell Maroon Schultz. And so just us three were there and like talking, the vibe, just getting to know each other's history and sharing it and seeing the similarities and the struggles that we all went through because of this government. So I'm thankful for that experience. I'm thankful for just being here and being able to get rest and rejuvenation. And I'm excited to, head to Atlanta in a few later tonight to see my sisters and children and brothers. And okay, and taking and just being able to just enjoy this time with one another, even through the sorrowness. We're finding so much joy and so much light in the process. So I'm just grateful for everything and everyone. So Shabbat Shalom, Zehu.
All right. May the Most High be praised. Total Rabbah. But she ain't done, y'all. So she'll be back a little later on. Believe me. Some things she forgot to mention. She'll be back, but that's okay. When you know, you know. Shabbat Shalom. Mr. Otter. Okay.
Chief Malak says, thankful to the Creator for the guidance and the teachings my father taught me us concerning the Creator of heaven and earth. Baruch Shema.
May the Most High be praised. Total Rabbah. All right. All right. Would anyone else like to thank the Most High at this time for anything special? Anyone?
Well, I'd like to first say Shabbat Shalom, beloved. I truly give praise to the Most High for this Shabbat day, for a day of rest. It's been an interesting week, but it's been a blessed week. I had to do some work on Silverback. That's my truck. And out in the cold, not fun. And everything wants to happen when it gets cold, but that's okay. I thank the Creator for the skill and for the time to be able to do it. And for the things that he's bringing forth for family, for Prince Kez and for Princess Madaya. Even just thinking about the topic of today, I'm ever in your debt for the love that you have shown to my lady Shah. And just thanking you all, just blessings to Temple Kefarim, my Beulah family, and for Be'er Azan, for Nasik Shama and Nasika Amuna, for my babies. And for everyone present, for Chief Malak, and for all those that tune in and say, Mr. Otter. So I'm just appreciative and I'm thankful for what the Most High is doing in this hour, the things that he's revealing, and the things that I'm feeling prompted in my Ruach to do, moving forward with a lot of different things. And so, and I'm appreciative of the events that he has transpiring in my life, things that are going to be just truly beneficial in the present and especially in the future. So I'm just truly magnifying the Abba for the doors that he's opening and the ways that he's making. I'm just grateful, and just knowing that in his timing, I mean, all things will come to fruition. And so, but I'm just grateful for what he's doing in this hour. Just there's so many things that I mean, like I said, there's a list, and like I said, you can think of, I could be here all day, but those are the key things that I'm really thankful for what he's doing for my children and in our family, and just for the opportunity to be able to share his truth with family members that are not in this walk, and bringing them to maybe slowly, but to a place of understanding, because we all got here in our own times. And I'm thankful again for the Most High, truly, for him being long suffering. because we could have died and could have left this plane of existence in ignorance. But I'm thankful for walking in his truth. I'm thankful for his Torah, his instructions, his guide to life, and the code of conduct that he's given us to be able to approach him and also to be able to approach one another. And so I'm just truly appreciative of the Most High for what he's doing and the things that he's yet continuing to reveal to us as people, and for the blessings that he's going to yet bring forth and bring to us, his people, as we walk in obedience to his Torah. And I yield.
May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. Toda Rabbah. What a blessing. What a blessing. Come on, family. Let's go, y'all. Let's get them likes up. Let's get them shares up. This is a lesson that so many people need to hear. So before we even get into the lesson today, I want to give my condolences to the families who have recently lost loved ones. My lesson today wasn't prepared with any particular person in mind, just the nation of Israel. I've been doing these funerals, 20-some years maybe. So I've done plenty of them. We've even put down in writing some of the instructions and procedures that needs to be done. But I say all this to say to you that to have someone that you love dearly to pass away is nothing new. Everyone gets to experience that at least once in their lives. It's how you go through the experience that makes all the difference. So with today's lesson, we hope to empower you with the ability to cope with the difference in your lifestyle that will take place after a situation such as that happens in your life. And if it is the Creator's will and we're successful today with today's lesson of how to do a Hebrew funeral, you will be comforted so much more than you would have been prior had not knowing this knowledge. So may the Most High be with you. And we shall, if it's his will, we'll get into those things a little later on today. Toda Rabbah.
Okay, I'm sorry. Autumn says, I'm very.
You turn your mic on.
All right, my sister wife Autumn says, I'm very, very grateful for a peaceful and fun-filled week with my sister wife and family. Grateful to be here. Shabbat Shalom. Mishpaka.
Right. All right. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. May the Most High be praised. Yep.
Shabbat Shalom, Aim.
Shabbat Shalom, Aim. Aim Keter. Shabbat Shalom. May the Most High be praised. So family, this is the time now to thank the Creator for whatever it is that you would like to thank the Most High for. Now is the time. Is there anyone else who would like to thank the Most High at this time for anything special? Please feel free to do so. Is there anyone else who would like to thank the Most High for anything special? You know, this must be a record-breaking opportunity for us. This must be a record-breaking situation for us to get started so early in our class. I don't think we've ever gotten started like 11:30 at all in the whole history of us doing these things. But when people don't speak up and people don't come in and those type of things, you know, you got to get started. You got to get going. You can't wait. This is how a lot of people are going to be for the rest of their lives. They're just determined to come late intentionally. You know, some people come later on because they don't want to go through this whole process. Some people think it's just a waste of time, but it's not. This is one of the most powerful times of the day. Time to get praise to the Most High King. That's one of the most powerful times of the day. So I'm sorry, Aim. I'm sorry. Aim wanted to thank the Creator.
I have to come on. All right. And Kitar says, I am grateful to the Most High for another chance to do life with family and friends.
Absolutely. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. Toda Rabbah. So I'll go. And if anybody wishes to give acknowledgments to the Creator afterwards, it's fine. Whatever you decide. I give honor and praise unto the Most High King of all creation. I thank him for life. I thank him for opportunity. I thank him for portions of his wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, because without it, I will be lost and confused and confounded. I thank him for the opportunity to be grateful for the people that the Most High have here, even today in the audience, but here in my life, who helps to assist in the development of my life. You know, I'm grateful for that. Sometimes when you sit in a position of leadership, arrogance consumes you, and you can't hear somebody that's speaking to you, although they're 2 feet away from you. You can't hear them because in your mind, you so pumped up, you so hyped up that you draw feelings and emotions against people that you shouldn't have those feelings and emotions against. So therefore, when you draw these feelings and emotions, it causes you to block people out. You don't hear what they say, and you don't take heed because you're not listening. I would pray that I'm not that way. I would thank the Most High Father for allowing me not to be that way. I thank the Creator for on Shishi. What's that, Shishi? We had dinner Friday night, right? No, it wasn't Thursday. Thursday night.
Yeah,
Riba. No, Riba is Wednesday night.
Oh.
Shalishi. Okay. So I thank the Creator for Shalishi Thursday night. My Ima and my sister and my niece and my daughter, they all came to the house and broke bread with us. And my mother let it be known that she was 80 years old. She getting it. So I'm 39 3/4. So she had me when she was, y'all keep listening to that. I got a bridge for you to buy too. But it was a good thing, you know. It was a blessing. My mother's 80 years old and she still lives by herself. And she don't want nobody to live with her. She got 2 extra rooms in her house, but she wants to be alone. She wants to live alone. She doesn't want anyone there supervising, helping her. She's determined to do it all on her own. I thank the Creator for her life. You know, she was the woman who helped assist in the process of raising me to make me the type of man that I am today. And I'm grateful, very grateful. You know, it's been a long week, as Abba said. It's been a long week. And so many things have transpired throughout the duration of this week. But we're still here. We're still standing strong. And we're still submitting ourselves to the will of the Creator. I also thank the Most High for any of you in the listening audience, whether it be today or in the future, who have contributed financially to the progression of Beulah Land and Temple Kifarim, who have contributed it physically to the progression of Beulah Land and Temple Kifarim, and those who have contributed it spiritually, who pray for us to the Creator. I thank you all for your help and your support and your contributions. For without you, life will be so much more difficult. So it's been somebody out there that the Most High has been listening to, that he's been hearing, because these things have turned around tremendously within the last 6 months, and we're grateful. Those who send in financial contributions, my hat is off to you. May the Most High gives you great joy and prosperity in your life. And if you can help someone else to get an understanding why we and other communities like us are in need of support, please do so. Because we need to understand that those people who are in position of delivering the Most High's word to us, they need your help and your support to keep things going. So I thank the Creator for the wonderful ones we have here who help and participate and financially, mentally, physically, and spiritually, in every way to make this a great success. We won't have success unless we all contribute to the success. So I'm grateful. May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah. And Brother Asa, normally, Brother Asa, you come on the screen and do your own thing. I don't know if that's not what you want to do today, but you got that link. You can always do that on your own. All right? May the Most High be praised. Imam?
Okay. I have Shabbat Shalom. Brother Asa says, I thank the Most High for the covenant given to my forefathers, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And Sukkot. I have a few to read.
Right.
Aim Sukari says, I'm grateful for the lessons in life that I have received from the Creator. May I continue to heal from the Most High, encouragement and changes.
May the Most High be praised.
May the Most High be praised. And Daquina Laurel texts me, her thankful as I too am thankful to be in the land of the living amongst beloved friends and families. Thankful for warmth in the cold. Praise be to the Most High.
May the Most High be praised. Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah, Toda Rabbah. It's a lot of us, family. We don't even understand the part we play in all of this. We don't understand. We think we do sometimes, but we don't. The Creator is like a master chess player. He sets up the board in a strategic order and way because he knows what he's going to do 5 and 10 and 15 moves from now. He knows what he's going to do. So, Brother Yirmiyahu, if you're listening, my condolences out to your Ima. I believe it was your Ima who passed just recently. But I want everybody to know that I did not know of that until this morning. So this lesson wasn't prepared with them in mind. This lesson was prepared in reference to a question that came up last week in class. And I said to the family, I'm going to have to do a class on funerals and a proper way to prepare for a funeral. So therefore, I sat down this week and I prepared a class, and we have it this week where we'll be able to present it. So I really, really would appreciate if you go out and share the class of today, because so many of our people have no idea of how to properly put away their deceased. And a lot of us are relying on the Christians to teach us how to worship the Creator and how to put away our deceased. Mm-hmm. And the wonderful thing about this is that none of us know the time, the day, or the hour that we will meet our demise, that transition will come within our own life, in our own lives. We don't know. So therefore, it will be beneficial for us all. This class should be packed with 2 million people. It should be packed because most of us don't know what to do. So we're going to give out some information today on the Shabbat day that you can utilize that will help you to get a better understanding of how to worship this King and how to honor those who have passed on before you. Imam, I'm going to turn it over to you, and you can do the
All right, Shabbat Shalom. Our sister Lyrical Dreams to Chelsea says, it's such a beautiful, peaceful day. Todayah for my life and everyone I am connected with. I am just so grateful to know the Most High and be blessed to rest on his set-apart day. Todayah. And Sister Aisha, Shabbat Shalom. Sister Yashurl, Shabbat Shalom. Oh. And Higdalia, Malka Higdalia says, Shalom, Shalom, Shabbat, Shalom, Prince Kaz, Malka Hagado, Princess Medaya, Kaver Autumn, Kol Mishpati. Shabbat Shalom, sis. Shabbat Shalom. All right. He's setting up, getting ready. May the Most High be praised. I do want to add, we are grateful. We had a beautiful, my husband did mention, dinner with his mother. And every time I visit Philadelphia, I try my best to make sure I go visit her. And when I came this time, it took me a few days because I was just trying to really just connect with myself and relax a minute. I called her and we were actually going to go out to eat. And then she called me the next morning, early the next morning, was like, why don't you just cook and we could all just be at the house? And, and so that's what it ended up doing. I cooked and we all just was here and bonding. And that was a beautiful thing. And I'm big on family and connection and staying connected. So it's always a blessing to be able to sit amongst family. And my mother-in-law, like, I don't even like that term in-law. I just usually call her mom. She's so beautiful and welcoming. And from the first day I ever spoke to her, she just embraced me from that moment, those years ago. So I'm just thankful that she's still here. She's still, like he said, vibrant, feisty. She got her mouth. It ain't going nowhere. But she tells the truth, but she tells it, and she's so loving and just appreciative of life. So I'm thankful, to have a mom in Yah and a mom, I like to say, in love, of that stature. I'm grateful. And, I have a few Emas out there that I truly love. And if Ema Naomi is listening, I love her. Like, she's always treated me like a daughter from the moment we met and still continues. So I love her. It's just so many, not so many, I won't say, but it's quite a few that I truly love and adore and honor. And Ema Carroll is one. And so I'm just grateful for those three particular at this moment. And I pray that the Most High continues to be with each and every one of them as they grow in this life, in their age, in their elderhood, and that they're honored, for who they are while they are living. So, Zehu, Torah.
A lot of people don't understand or don't even think about how much you really appreciate them until you mention them by name. But there's a lot of emote throughout this earth, this Hebrew way of life that we greatly appreciate. It's a bunch of them. Greatly appreciate. Ima Habared, who's one who comes here quite frequently. Is another one, dynamic. Aim Kater, Sister Laurel. I mean, these are words. I mean, how do we put words to properly describe how we feel about these women? The emotion and the time and the efforts that they put in, the caring, the love, the nurturing. It's hard to put in words sometimes. It's just so many. So may the Most High be with them all. May the Most High bless them all. And before I move on, I just want to mention this one sister, Higdalia. I ain't call her Ema.
No, I said Autumn. She's not.
Oh, Higdalia. Yes, tremendous sister. I remember you from back in the day. I don't know if you remember me from back in the day, from Benny Adat days. And she's been a tremendous support for Beulah Lane and Temple Kepharim in many ways. She trusted us with her children, her child. And it's just, her and my wife has a great relationship, beautiful relationship, what caused me to have a lot of respect for her. But I'm going to tell you, the moment when I gained the most respect for her, not really knowing her, but just seeing her in the past, was when a situation came up in my own life. And her and I was on the phone one time with her husband's permission, Kezu. And we were discussing this situation that came up. And she was so adamant to explain to Prince, well, Prince, this is this. Prince is that, is that. But nothing she said seemed to be in my favor when she was speaking to me. But then I heard her in my defense, defending me and protecting me and fighting for me. And she didn't know I heard her, but that made all the difference. You know, to me, it made all the difference. And I'm going to tell you why. People will say what they say to your face. Those things are not important. It's what they got to say about you when you're not present that matters the most. And Sister Higdalia stood up, you know, so when she come in here and she say all this stuff about Shabbat Shalom, Prince Kez, Malka Haggadol, Princess, she means it. And she ain't just one to say I'm with you and don't really mean I'm with you. She's not one of those ones that say I'm with you until hard times come and then I'm off and then I'm going to talk about you and be mean and disrespect you behind your back. She's not one of those ones. I haven't seen that. And I'm grateful for her existence, for her life, for her contribution. You know, so I would actually take my shirt off my back and give it to her husband to get to her if they needed it. Because that's just how I feel about them. That family is like they got a special place in our history, in our lives. So we're grateful. May the Most High be praised. I don't know if you knew all that, sis, but figured I'd let you know. And don't let me get to talking about that man you got there next to you, your husband. I seen him down in New York one day. And he said, "Oh, Prince, that's nice." And I had to give it to him. And he left with it because he liked it. So I had to give it to him. Had to give it to him. And I hope he still got it to today. I pray that he does. Or if somebody greeted him in the same fashion, maybe he did the same thing. You know, each one teach one. May it be the Most High's will. So grateful. All right, so let's get it going. Let's get it going. Do you got some things you need to post, babe, Ima? No?
I mean, Igali says Toda Yehovah, Terry. And Ima Titi says Shabbat Shalom, Mishpaka.
Shabbat Shalom, Ima Titi. So before we start, does anyone else like to thank the Most High for anything special before we get moving? Because we're about to tear it up in a righteous way. In a righteous way. Anybody else? All right. So family, let me know if this is large enough that you can all see on your screens. Does it appear to be large enough? Because if not, I can blow it up a little bit. How about that?
Much better. Much better.
All right. Let me see if I can move it over a little bit. All right, that's good, Abba.
Okay, that's good.
All right. So do I have my reader? I need a reader for today. Y'all know, I think y'all just like hearing me beg. That must be what it is. Y'all must just like hearing Prince say, I need. I don't like to keep saying, I need. If y'all know I need you, you should be here. You should be like right on the screen, like at any drop of the dime saying, Prince, I got you, man. Here we go. So if y'all don't want to read, then I'm going to have to read. And y'all know how my voice sounds. I need to preserve it. I need to preserve it for the lessons, for the teachings. My wife, she says, we don't have enough likes, family. So before we begin the lesson, can everybody go back and like the lesson, please? Can y'all give us some more likes, please, so we can build up the like stability going on here? Can y'all give us some more likes, please? I mean, unless you don't like it. Then if you don't like it, then you don't have to like it. Nobody can make you like something you don't like. Come on, family, let's rock and roll. We still got 1,400 likes. That's it. And how many shares we got? 3 shares. Come on, family. Let's rock and roll. We got to share. We got to like. We got to go all over the place and let people know what this lesson is about to drop. Is going to be useful to the nation. All right. She's not there yet. All right. So if you ain't here, you ain't shared, you ain't liked, then it's not my fault. I gotta move on. I can't keep holding back, waiting for you to get it together. I'll be thinking y'all scared to share sometime. Prince, just teach the lesson. All right. 21? Okay. That's a little bit better. That ain't where I want to be, but that's a little bit better. All right. So again, before we begin this lesson, I have to say that I need y'all to understand that this lesson was not made with any one person in mind. I don't want anything that comes out in this lesson to be disturbing to you, where you feel like Prince is talking about you, Prince is making fun of you. That's a dangerous place to be. And I don't want anyone to feel that way. So I'm letting you all know that I did not make this lesson with any one particular person in mind. Okay? So you have to rock and roll with me. You have to understand and accept that. We're going to start our lesson off with Jeremiah, the 16th chapter. If anybody wishes to read, let me know before we get started. I'm going to put the link in the room again. And anybody wishing to read can come on the screen and do your readings. If not, then that means I don't have to read. I prefer to have a reader, but if not, it's all right. The Creator allowed me to go to school and even graduate college, so I know how to read a little bit. That's right, sis. A hit dog will always bark. If not personal, but a hit dog will always feel it. You are absolutely correct. Let's rock and roll. To all of you who have lost a loved one, I ask that the Most High will bring you comfort in your soul. I ask that the Most High will comfort your family and the loved ones that was left behind. I ask that the Most High will be with you, guide you, protect you, strengthen you, and provide for you. Sometimes the love of a lost one is devastating, and sometimes it's hard to bounce back from the loss of a loved one. But with a good support system, it's easier. You know what I mean? This is where communal living is so vitally important. Living in the midst of a community helps you to be strengthened in ways that you don't even understand. So I ask that the Most High will guide my mind, my spirit, my body, my language, and my speech as I approach unto you, his people. I too understand the importance of today's lesson, and it is extremely important and relevant. So if you all can open your books, please, let's turn to the book of Jeremiah, chapter 16, and we're going to start at verse 1. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 1. What you say? Nah, I mean, I do need a reader, but I didn't want it to be you because you're so close and we got to keep switching up stuff. I did want somebody else to do it, but I'm going to stop asking.
Prince, I'll go ahead and read for you.
You ain't got to do it, Abba. You ain't got to do it. It's going to stop from asking to begging, and I don't want that to happen. No, Abba, it's cool. I appreciate that, Abba, but no, you my elder, and I thank you. All right. If you don't mind, is that okay, Abba? Is that all right?
Okay, that's okay.
All right. Told everybody. I'll read. Yeah, Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 1. Now, before I begin reading Jeremiah chapter 16, because some of you might have read on already and saying, well, Prince, what that got to do with the lesson? That ain't got nothing to do with the lesson. It has a whole lot to do with the lesson. Most knowledge comes through the eye of the beholder. How you see things and how you interpret things is oftentimes how you react toward things. So when I read Jeremiah, the 16th chapter, what it showed me was the customs of how our people used to bury the dead. What it showed me was a lot of the things that we used to do in relevance to our deceased once they went away. And it also showed me a lot of the anger of the Most High that's throbbing through the Most High essence against us, and how bad we need to try to get back on the right side of the Father. So please, let's travel together and let's understand, let's comprehend, and let's absorb what the Creator has for us to get. It says, the word of the Most High came also unto me, saying. Now, for a lot of people who may not know this, Jeremiah had a scribe. I believe his name was Baruch. He was a scribe. He would write all the words of Jeremiah down. So he's writing, Jeremiah is dictating. Verse 2, it says, thou shalt not take thee a wife, neither thou shalt have sons or daughters in this place. And we thinking about it. Where's he at right now? Jeremiah is in Jerusalem. But the Creator is telling him not to take daughter, don't take a wife, and don't have any children in this land. I'm not going to spend too much time on the statistics of this, because you know I can get into this very deeply and explain some things, but that's not the purpose of this chapter today. For thus saith the Most High, concerning the sons and concerning the daughters that are born in this place, and concerning their mothers that bear them, and concerning their fathers that begot them in this land. They shall die of grievous deaths. They shall not be lamented. Now, very first thing, lamented means for someone to be remorseful for you, for someone to cry for you, for someone to go through a period of time separating themselves from every situation because of you and your passing. This was the first thing that the Creator brought to my attention about what happens when one of our loved ones pass away. We lament for them. We feel pity for them. We feel sorrow. We're going to miss them. We hurt in our essence for them for a period of time. But no matter how long it is, it's painful. So we lament for them. And if you're a brother or sister that passes away within the earth and nobody laments for you, that means you didn't mean much to people, or you had no significance to anyone in their lives. So the Most High is telling us that there's going to be a time when no one's going to do that. They shall die of grievous death. They shall not be lamented for, neither shall they be buried. This is another thing. The Creator is showing us that our forefathers used to bury our dead. We used to mourn for them, and we used to bury them. Now, this isn't just any old body that we're talking about. These are people that was favored. Because as you read through scriptures, a lot of time people who did wickedness, what they did, they never saw a grave. A lot of them got burnt up, chewed up, or the animals ate them, or the birds of the field will come and eat their bodies. The ants, the bugs will just eat them all up. That was a curse from the Creator. In my opinion, we look at life and death wrong. We look at the body of a deceased wrong. And I'm going to try to bring all that out through today's lesson and how we should view these situations. Most of us have no understanding what it means to bury your dead, or why to bury your dead, or a lot of the things that we do in reference to burying your dead. A lot of us don't have any understanding as to why this thing is needed, necessary, and takes place. So let's pass on. But they, verse 4, Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 4. But they shall be as dung upon the face of the earth, and they shall be consumed by the sword and famine, and their carcass shall be meat to the fowls of the heavens and the beasts of the earth. Do you know how many of our forefathers experienced that type of a death? Where their bodies they will be killed, but their bodies would be laying out in the fields, and the birds and the animals would have their way on them. This is telling us that this is how someone who disrespects the Creator, this is how they go most of the time. This is how they go. Not all the time, but some of the time, let's say. Some of the time they go this route. When you are real close to the Creator, what I mean by close to the Creator, you have a responsibility to the Most High's people, over the people. You have a responsibility to them. And you fail them with a wicked failure, with wickedness, atrocities, all type of evil doings. Usually, this is how the Most High takes you out. And he allowed these types of things to take place, and you're never buried. You don't go to the grave. Look at most of the wicked kings. And if the Creator did allow them to be buried, most of the wicked kings, they was not buried with their forefathers. It's an honor to be buried with your forefathers. It's an honor because you was an upright individual. At least you walked in the ways of the Creator. Verse 5, Jeremiah, Yirmiyahu 16:5. For thus saith the Most High, enter not into the house of mourning, neither go to lament nor bemoan them. He's telling us that when wicked people lose a loved one, don't even go in to mourn with them. And don't cry with them. Don't even enter into their house. So therefore, what he's actually saying to us is when we lose a loved one and you're in a righteous state of mind, you yourself and the people you love, then this is one of the procedures that you should be doing. You should be going to their home and you should be comforting them. You should be mourning with them. Do you understand how you reverse the curse into the blessing? You do the opposite of what the curse says, and that shows you how the Most High decides to comfort our people. So when we lose a loved one, what we should be doing, or when we lose someone we know that's close to us or dear to us loses a loved one, what we should be doing is we should be going into their homes and mourning with them. Remember when Job was going through his atrocities that he went through? His people came from around and sat down with him for periods of time in the dirt and just chilled. That was a beautiful thing. What they had to say wasn't all that good. So therefore, we got to remember that when somebody, Nasika said it best. She said that when she lost her mother, people came around. Let me try to quote her words because I'll be off a little bit. She said, people will come around and say, if you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. She said, I would have rather you had just done things. So remember, family, because that was a very heartfelt situation. But your response is just common and ordinary. Everybody says that all the time, and they really don't mean it. If you need anything, let me know. If you need anything, let me know. There are some who really mean it and will stand behind it. But then there are some, most who are just saying that just to have something to say. Well, if you don't have anything to say, then the only thing you can say, what you should say is, I'll pray for you and the family. May the Most High find and bring you grace and comfort. Something on that nature. But what we do commonly, we say, if you need anything, let me know. Nasika said she would rather, instead of hearing all those words, that somebody actually did something to let them know that they really, wanted to bring her comfort and try to ease some of the things that might have been going through her mind at that particular time by showing up, by stepping in, by taking over. And you're going to get a whole lot of that stuff in the lesson today. And being there to be supportive and not just talking it, but actually showing up to the location, as the scripture just said, go into their homes and mourn with them. What you think that's talking about? Y'all might go there and talk about memories. You ain't got to be crying, but you got to spend some time in their company. And if my suggestion would be that you bring about good things, talk about, how he made you laugh or how she made you laugh or how that child was so funny or anything that will bring about a positive spirit. Because when a person is that low, they can go lower, which means a lot of people, when they lose somebody, they hurt to the degree where they want to lose themselves. But if they have a community people who really care for them, they will come in and help to lift their spirits a little bit, give them encouragement, give them the right spirit to move forward. We haven't even gotten into the body of the lesson today. This is the warm-up. This just getting you there. We got so much to talk about. Both great and small. I'm sorry. Let me start verse 5. For thus saith the Most High, enter not into house of mourning, neither go and lament, nor bemoan them. For I have taken away my peace from this people. Your job as someone who cares about the individual is to try to bring them back peace, a peaceful state of mind. Help ease their confusion. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't say things that you're not going to do and have no intentions on doing, but speak truth to them. Truth. And keep your word. Whatever you say, you must fulfill it. Because these people are in a state of depression at this time. Some people take death a little bit lighter than others. Some take it really, really hard. They're in a state of deep depression, and they need that comfort to help in their lives. For I have taken away their peace, saith the Most High, even loving kindness and mercies. So therefore, you're supposed to give them loving kindness, and you're supposed to extend to them mercies. You're supposed to try to build them back up. Both the great and the small ones shall die in this land, and we know that for a fact. They shall not be buried, neither shall men lament for them, nor cut themselves, nor make themselves bald for them. These are all the practices that our forefathers used to do. So now when I read this part about making themselves bald, this stuck out to me. Well, if our forefathers used to make themselves bald for the dead, wasn't something wrong with that? That's what I thought. I thought something was wrong with that. And then I remembered the law that the Most High said that if a man is to go out to war and take a wife, he see a woman while he's out in war, he takes her as a wife, he's to bring her to his house. And he is to shave off all of her head. And she is to mourn for 30 days for the loss of her parents. So this is something that was a customary within our people. But the Creator is saying that wicked people ain't going to receive this type of treatment. So this lets us know that as long, and this is the primary message for this portion, as long as we're living in righteousness before the Most High, then these things that we're reading about that appears to be a curse will be blessings upon our lives. People will mourn for us. People will visit us in our homes. People will cry with us. People will try and do their best to bring us peace and happiness. People will bury our deceased. They will bury the deceased of our people. All right, let me stop there for a second, please. Verse 8. I need to put out a poll, please. Yes, you're right, Sister TT. I was taught that bringing food and cord, what's cord?
A card.
Oh, and a card with money in it helps the family. Absolutely. I know I'm about to deal with that. Absolutely, Sister TT, that's true. But that's the minimum effort that you can put into it. I mean, that's good. That's helpful. But if you're able, I mean, that shows people that you care, that you're concerned, that I appreciate it. If it's something that they need, you might be willing to help with this little bit. You actually put it out there. But a lot of times people don't need that. I'm not saying all the time. I'm saying sometimes people just need somebody to be there, to talk to them, to hold their hand, to hug them, to comfort them, to spend time with them, to cook for them, to clean for them, to go to the market for them. It's just different. There's so many different things that can be done. And I agree with you, Sister TT. It is a start. It's a powerful start. It's just not a little thing, because a lot of people just use words and leave it alone. But you actually talked about someone bringing something physical and also dropping some money, which can also be useful. So that's a positive start that you did, that you brought about. Very helpful. But what I'm speaking about is more on like what I just spoke about. actually physically being there to help, to assist, to participate. Pretty much like this, and I'm going to say this, and I hope nobody gets lost, to be a slave for that individual for a period of time, however time it takes. All right, so what I need to know before we continue, Abba Metathias says that it's breaking up. Is it breaking up with anyone else? Is anyone else getting a breakup in my speech? Am I losing anyone? Do I need to go out and come back in? Let me know, family, because I don't want you to be struggling trying to get this lesson. All right, let me know. I'm going to read on and continue on, but I need to know if I'm breaking up. Let me know. No breakups? Okay, no problem. Good. Okay. So, Abba, it might be your computer, because everyone else is reporting that it's fine. So it may be your computer, Abba. I don't know. Maybe your Wi-Fi. I don't know. Maybe you need to go out, come back. I don't know. But
Okay, I'll check my connection.
Yeah, if it persists, then maybe you should try to do something. We wish we could be there, so we send what we can. Very good. All right. There's a question on the floor before I continue. It says, Abba, can you explain the cut yourself part in verse 6? Was that customary for us to cut ourselves in mourning for our dead? Isn't there a law against that? Yes. You're not supposed to cut. You know, Israel did a whole lot of things that was against the law. You know, we did a lot of things that was against the law, but they did it. Just like today, we did it. We did it. So yes, our people did that. And this is why I didn't bring that out, because that's not a good thing for us to do. You know, I'm capitalizing off of the things that we should be doing for those that we love when they lose someone, and how we should make life simpler or easier for them. So the best thing I can say is that you would pack up and you will go become their servant for the period of time that you're able, even if it's just for a day, if it's just for a couple of hours, however it is, take time out of your time to be a servant to them. And that will be a great thing. It will be a great thing. Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 7. Neither shall men tear themselves for them in mourning. Now, tearing themselves in mourning. Now, a lot of people today don't do those type of things, but tearing yourselves in mourning show that our forefathers would have ripped their clothes. If you read through the scriptures, whenever a great atrocity fell upon one of our kings or our priests or one of the great men in Israel, they would tear their clothes off. They would have ripped their clothes up. And that's a sign of great mourning, great distress. That's what it's a sign of. So when it says, neither shall men tear themselves for them in mourning, to comfort them for the dead, neither shall men give them a cup of consolation of drink for their fathers or for their mothers. The Creator says in the scriptures, you give wine or strong drink to them who are hard in heart. They're heavy on heart. Their minds, great anguish have besought them and fell upon them. You give them wine to comfort them. That don't mean you drink wine all the time. That don't mean you walk around being an alcoholic. That's not what that means. It means when somebody falls on a destitute situation, comfort them. But these people wasn't going to receive that because they was wicked. But these are the things that our forefathers did when the time of people needing to be comforted because of the loss of a death. Now watch this. Thou shalt not also go in the house of feasting. So this shows us that that was something that our forefathers did. We went into the house and we feasted. When the individual who just lost someone, we will break bread with them. We will sit down with them. And when we break bread with them, they didn't have to cook. They didn't have to slave over a stove. We did that. We prepared the food. And I think that was Sister Titi said that, how they would bring food, I believe it was, bring food or give them some comfort, something good. You know, the people are mourning. Their minds need to be at rest. They don't need to be thinking about cooking and eating and feeding themselves. Those people who claim to love them are supposed to do that for them. Do you want to speak up so people can hear you? I'll give you the mic. You can take it. Take the mic. No, take the mic. I'll give you the mic. You can take it. Take the mic. No, take the mic. I'll give you the mic. You can
Okay, my fault. I was just saying it's so true because my siblings and I had decided we wasn't having a repast after my father's burial because we just wanted to kind of just be with ourselves. But so many people were asking, like, what are you going to do? And so it ended up being so many people at my brother's house and so much food. Like, and we didn't really ask for it. Like, somebody asked, what do y'all want to eat? So they ordered a bunch of vegan food. And then one of our aunts brought over pans and pans of vegan food. And then somebody paid for some food. And it was so much food. Like, it was like three different times it was a plethora of food. And then I will tell y'all though, by 2:00 when the last person left, all the food was gone. Like, everybody ate all that food. But it was, even though initially we were like, we just wanted to go and be alone, it did make us feel really good. Just, seeing all the love and the support and the food, because truthfully, we were tired, we didn't want to cook. But we needed it. And so it was grateful. We were grateful for it.
So this shows you, family, this is what our forefathers did. This is how we did what we did. Bringing food to the one who has lost somebody and spending time with them. And she did mean 2:00 in the morning, because they didn't leave at 2-3 o'clock in the morning. All those people, and then we had to have at least about 60, 70, maybe a little more than that, because people was coming and going. And around 2:30 in the morning, I'm making phone calls. Yo, they done? No, they still here. So yeah. But I remember when we went down to be with Abba and the family, I don't think we got back to about 2-3 o'clock in the morning from leaving real late from being with them. It's just something that you should do. It should be in your system to look out for those and make sacrifices for those that you care for. It should be there. And these are just some of the things that we should be doing. All right, let's read on. Let me move on a little bit more. Yirmiyahu chapter 16, verse 8. Thou shalt also, wait a minute, did I read that? Thou shalt also go into house to feasting, to sit with them, to eat and to drink. That is something that we have to focus on. And I'm not talking about the repast. I'm talking about even after the repast. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, you don't have to hold this as law. This is my opinion. But for the next week, that individual whose family just lost someone shouldn't have to cook, shouldn't have to clean, at least for the next week. But what I'm speaking about right now is only conducive if we live in a community environment. When we live as individuals, you down the street, up the block, around the corner, you in the other city, you in the other state, you in the other country, it's not so conducive. We can't do it as much. It's very much harder. But if we all live within a ramification of walking distance in a community, then we can do that. Because at 11, 12 o'clock at night, we could walk home. And it is not really too much that's going to take place, because you got your husband with you as you walk across the land 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. But you walk out in these streets 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, you better have your friend with you, all 12 of them. And I hope you understand what I'm talking about, because it's dangerous out here in these streets. So it's not as productive. It's not able to happen as much as we would like for it to happen when we live in the prior settings, how we live today within the walls of these big cities. But if we all lived down on Beulah Land and Temple Kepharine, just something to think about. If we all lived in the community, that's how beneficial it would be. Communal living is the key to the future of our survival. And we have to understand that. Communal living is the key to the future of our survival. For thus saith the Most High of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, behold, I will cause to cease out of this place in your eyes, in your days, the voice of myrrh, and the voice of gladness, and the voice of bridegroom, and the voice of the bride. So marriages are going to stop. But we get into another area because what we really want to deal with is life and death situations. So we're going to stop there, family. I just wanted to bring about those types of things to let you know what we were doing in those days when it came to the deceased of our people. There are many of us who live our lives as Hebrew Israelites. Many never consider the thing that happens to all living. We go through life, we go through Shabbat services, we learning about the Most High, we searching it out, we're watching our diet, we're watching the clothes we put on our backs, but how many of us prepare for death? How many of us actually prepare for death? Sister, see, this is Bati. Let me address this, Bati. Yes. But what about the Akot, without husbands, who would walk us home, or should the Akot walk in group? Very good question. If we lived in a community, we wouldn't have that issue, because someone will be your spiritual head and will make sure that you ain't walking by yourself. When you live in the cities, anything is possible, but we would pray that someone would even walk you home or take you home then. But a lot of the sisters today feel like it's 12 o'clock, I'm fine. And know what y'all say? It's 1 o'clock in the morning, I'm fine. I could do this, I'm fine. And you're not, and that's not the way it should be. You should always walk with assistance. Men should always be in your presence when it's the wee hours of the morning, rural, late at night. You should always have men in your company to help to protect you. And if they're wise men, they'll have 12 friends, 15 friends, 20 friends with them at all times, because they're supposed to be your protection. But dealing with these males today, it's no telling what you'll get. But that's great that she doesn't stay out past dusk, past dark. That's right. That's right. Abba says the community will be protected by the males, the brothers in the community. But that's why community living is so important. How to prepare for death. We're transitioning now, family. How to prepare for death. Either one's own death or the departure of one's loved one. How do you prepare for death? One of the ways in preparing for death is first coming to the realization that everyone shall transition. Don't try to hold on to things that you can't control. And your loved ones is one of those things that you can't control their transition. One of the best things for us to do in life is to live life to the best way, to the best ability that we can while we're in our right mind and while we're still alive. What I mean by that, a lot of people eat a lot of things that are no good for them, which causes sicknesses within our bodies. And that sicknesses eventually leads to the possibility of death. Well, when you get that warning, you get that hint, and you get that conscious mind that that thing is not good for you, that the chances of you eating these things are going to lead to death, you should simply stop that. And a lot of us don't. A lot of us don't, but we should. We should be living our lives doing the best we can possibly do to prolong our lives and give ourselves longevity of health. How do we prepare for death? By eating the right things. putting the best things into our bodies. How do we prepare for death? One of the ways to prepare for death is by doing the things that you need to do to bring peace in your thoughts. Because a lot of times when you're always stressing out, it will give you an early grave. When you're always living in an environment that's like war-torn environment, you're always hyped, it will bring you into an early destruction. So you should try to search out for peace in your life. Some people, they live in environments with their husbands, their wives, or their children, and it's like a hectic or hostile environment. If nobody's arguing, something is wrong. Nobody's screaming, nobody's, then something is wrong with that environment. That's not a good environment to be in. That environment within itself will give you an early death. So how do you prevent or how do you prepare for death? By changing the environment that you're in. Either one's own death or the departure of one's loved one. Many simply have no idea where to begin. So let's say, creator forbid, you lost a mother today. You lost a father, a relative, a child even, or your sister lost her husband. Anything of that nature. These is where these things that we're about to read will kick in. Now I'm going to say, and I got to clarify this right now, these things are my opinion and my experiences from 30-something years of servitude to the people of the Most High. There will be a lot of people who will dislike what I say and try to build a posse to come against me for whatever reason to try to take me down. It doesn't matter. I have to do what the Creator asks me to do. No matter what you say, no matter what you like, it's got to be done. So I submit and surrender to you my servitude, to you, the Most High's people, to the best of my ability. But the true fact is that many people have no idea where to begin in the time of a demise of the loved one. This lesson today is a method and procedural explanation of how to perform the process from beginning to end. It is customary for the deceased. Now, get your pens and your papers and your notepads or your recording devices and begin to take notes at this point, because this information is extremely important. It is customary for the deceased to be put to its final resting place within 3 days after the transition. So when someone you know that lives this lifestyle passes away, it is best to get them into the grave within 3 days. And if you can't get them into the grave, then you have to get them into a freezer or refrigerator so that their remains are not decomposing as they would if they were sitting out. Because when a person remains into a building, now we're not talking about a real hot building or location. We're not talking about really, really hot. We're just talking about average temperature, 50, 60 degrees. The body really don't start breaking down too bad until the 3rd day. Whereas it's not bearable until the 3rd day. But on the 3rd day, it is extremely unbearable. You can't take it by the 3rd day. If it's in normal conditions, if it's not refrigerated. So therefore, if one of our people are to pass away, we should get them refrigerated as soon as possible until the 3rd day. And on the 3rd day, at least the 3rd day, put them in the grave. At least by the 3rd day. Now, a part that a lot of people don't understand about the dead body. You read scriptures throughout the scriptures where it says, if the dead person dies in the house is unclean. You're supposed to sprinkle the house. If you touch the body of a dead person, you're unclean. If you touch the bones of a man that's dead, you're unclean. All of those things make you unclean. So quite naturally, we already understand that the dead body is unclean. But at the same token, the dead body is referenced by the Most High. You have to treat the dead body a certain way. And we do that today. Let me give you an example of some of the things and some of the ways and how we treat the dead today. When we go to a funeral, when someone is at their funeral, we go to a funeral, why do we dress up? You only dress up on special occasions to show honor and respect to the situation. So why do you dress up on a funeral? You dress up on a funeral to show on a special occasion to show honor and respect for the dead, for the deceased, for the one who has left. So without us even knowing, we're honoring the dead, which is acceptable by the Creator to this degree. Now watch this. When the president come into town, he got a long slew row of cars, and don't they block the road and give them permission? And don't they do the same thing at a funeral procession? When you're driving in a car, people will stop and they're honoring you. So we're honoring what? We're honoring the dead. See, we don't understand it. Ain't nothing wrong with it because you're doing it in righteousness. You're paying your final respects to an individual who has lived a life, no matter how long. You're showing your respect towards that individual. And that's something that we don't even pay attention to quite often. Now we all go to the funeral and then we go up and we speak on their behalf and we say something great. I mean, we say truthful things, hopefully it'll be all truthful things about that individual. And we might make some people laugh or joke, but we're honoring the individual. We're honoring the life that that individual has lived. We're honoring the dead to a degree. The Most High holds a certain sacredcy with the dead bodies that people don't understand. They don't understand. The Most High, if you look at that scripture I pulled out in Deuteronomy 22, 21 and 22. Let's go there real quick. Deuteronomy 21 and 22. Deuteronomy 21 and 22. And this is what it says. It says, if a man has committed a crime punishable by death, and he is put to death, and you shall hang him on a tree, his body, now once he passes away, it becomes a body. His body should not remain all night on that tree, but you shall bury him the same day. Do y'all understand? Get the body in the grave as soon as possible. As soon as possible. If you can bury him on the first day, then that's when you bury him. On the second or third day, that's when you bury him. But try to make the third day as late as possible. If you can do it prior, then do it. And if we all lived in the community, it would be so much easier, wouldn't it? No more waiting for everybody to come from across the ocean to get here. We got to wait a week because their plane don't land. We would have them in the ground within 3 days. So this is what we have to remember. It is customary for the deceased to be put to its final resting place within 3 days after transition. But in some cases, this will be nearly impossible to do. In such a case, the burial should take place soon as possible. All right? So that's the first part, is that we should get the person in the grave as soon as possible, customarily within 3 days. Usually, we don't try to take no longer than 3 days in burying our deceased. But we're going to go through a whole lot of things, family, so please be patient and walk with us. And if you have any questions, post your questions on the side, and we will address those in a minute. Most things are custom, but we do know as a commandment from example where the Creator said if they die, bury them that day. All right. The grieving family should never have to be tied down with the funeral arrangements. That is so, so important. But now I have to make it known to you, family. When you see someone is trying to help, you have to open yourself up for that help. See, a lot of people get in a position where I don't need nobody to tell me what to do, and you don't know nothing. You don't know anything about it. The only thing you know is the customary way of traditions of idol worshipers, people who practice idolatry, and how they do things because that's the custom that you grew up in. But things pertaining to Torah, how we bury our people, you are not aware of. Because first, you've never been to a Hebrew funeral. Second, no one ever gave you the instructions on the proper way to bury your dead. So therefore, if you're a grieving family, you should be able to sit back and have somebody who doesn't have their emotions all wrapped up into the situation like you do. I'm not saying somebody that don't care. I'm saying somebody who is not all emotional wrapped up into the situation should be there to support, to go through the process. Now, you don't abandon them. You don't leave them. You stay there with them because there will be questions that they need to ask, or whoever's doing the burial, they would need to ask certain questions that only the family would know. Therefore, you have to be there to assist, but your mind is not on that service of response to the degree as if you were by yourself. Somebody should always step up to take lead when somebody loses a loved one. The family should be able to mourn for their loss. The most qualified person in the community will work closely with the family to arrange the services. This also is another important reason why there should be an established community. This is another reason why it's so important. A lot of times people don't understand the importance of things until they need things. And when they need things, then they understand the importance. We need someone to be ready to assist when one of our loved ones depart this life. Will that be you? Have you been taught in this way? Have you been trained in this way? Do you know how to do these things? Because the average person don't. On our land, the beautiful land in Temple Kepharim, we have about an acre of land right now set aside for the cemetery for our deceased. Because of the limited amount of people that we haven't arranged or assigned anyone to be over the cemetery portion as of yet. Once the community grows and we're giving out different positions and jobs for different people, someone will be in charge of the community portion where somebody needs to be buried. They will pick out where the plots are going to go. They will be responsible for digging the grave. Of course, they will have the assistance of a machine to dig the grave. They will be responsible for record keeping, to make sure that we keep an accurate depiction of where we buried who, when, why, and what time. We will have to have that on record, kept on record in a book, because we plan on burying our own people Hebrew style. Somebody has to make sure that the grounds is kept. Where the cemetery portion is, the grass should always be cut. Right now, Prince does it. But there are other people in the future that will take on that responsibility of making sure that the grounds are always kept. See, nobody thinks about these things until it happens to you. And the moment it happens to you, you look around like, who can I go to? Oh, you know what? That brother Prince from over there, he did a class on this, but why not get involved with it right now? Why not be involved with Beulah at Temple Kepharim right now? So when those situations happen, you are already a part of the mix. All you got to do is say, hey, yo, bro, right here is where we want to go. Now let's look at this for a minute. Our land, our portion of the cemetery on our land was for people of our community. We had no ideal that we were going to have to bury other Israelites on that land that didn't live there. But now I see that we're going to have to extend it even further, because we're getting calls about people who have lost loved ones and have nowhere to take them. And an ordinary funeral today costs so much money. I'm speaking anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 or more for one funeral. And it's unbelievable the amount of money that they're charging people for funerals today. It almost don't pay to die, or don't pay to have somebody to die that's close to you, because you wouldn't be able to afford it. All thanks to the Most High that we have our own land, that we can build our own cemetery and put our own people under the dirt for pennies on a dollar. And we're grateful. We're thankful, very, very appreciative for that. But we see now that we're going to have to open up some of that land another portion of that land for cemeteries for other Israelites. Probably people that don't even like us. That's how it is when you serve the Most High's people. People don't even speak to you. If you walk right past them, you sit in the congregation right with them, they'll look you dead in your eyes and roll their eyes and look the other way. But when they die, we got to open the doors and put them in the ground. Why? Because our people need us to serve them. We understand that. A lot of people say, man, listen, if I ain't dealing with that brother, I ain't doing nothing. Well, that's you. And that's not how we move. We put our emotions to the side and we deal with the reality of what's needed to get done. And that's who we are. And that's why we're here. And that's why the Most High has brought so many blessings upon us. And we're grateful for that. There is no selfishness here. We only worried about us, me and my family, me and my household. Well, my household extends to the whole nation of Israel. And yours should too if you stand in a position of leadership. The problem is so many people don't have themselves together, but yet they want to be leaders. A leader must be someone who earns it, not someone who's given it. And the only way that you can earn it is that you have to be prepared and ready to give of yourself. Do y'all understand what I mean? Just because they got a title don't mean a thing. What kind of work has they put in to earn that title? Who have they helped? Who have they fed? Who have they clothed? Who have they went out of their way to support that don't do nothing for them? These are the things I'm telling you about. That's when you know you got a prince in your midst or a teacher. I'm not even going to necessarily say a teacher because a teacher and a leader are two different things. But when you got somebody that's supposed to be your spiritual leader, he may not have worldly possessions to give you everything that you need. If he's your spiritual leader, but he should have the connection to get the resources that he needs to give you in your life. For example, you might have a spiritual leader who don't own land, but yet he's your spiritual leader. And your husband pass away, or your child pass away, or your wife passes away. You call your spiritual leader, what we going to do here? Because this is what just took place. He immediately should kick in and take charge. And if he doesn't own any land, then he should be on the phone with somebody he knows that does own some land and say, hey, listen, this is what we need to do. Are you open? Yes. Make it happen. And he should see fit for it to get done. So what I'm talking about is spiritually, it don't mean he has to be wealthy, but he must be wealthy in resources, because you never know what the need is that you may need your spiritual leader for. He can't just get up there and talk the talk. He has to be able to supply you with the needs in your life, just like a husband would with a wife, because the spiritual leader is the husband to the community. So many people don't understand that. So many people get confused and misunderstand when I say that. But your spiritual leader is supposed to supply the needs of the community. And if he cannot supply the needs of the community, he should not be the spiritual leader. It's just that simple. And again, it doesn't mean he has to be wealthy in finances, but he must be wealthy in resources, which means if it's something you need, he knows a man who knows a man who knows a man that can get it done. And it gets done. That's a difference. I had a situation popped up the other day. I got a ticket going through North Carolina. They pulled me over and gave me a ticket, talk about I was speeding, and I wasn't speeding. But I don't live in North Carolina. So I had to call to get me an attorney in North Carolina. So what did I do? I called one of my brothers who live in North Carolina to look around to find me an attorney. And he did. He looked around, he did his best, and it's greatly appreciated. But that's how it's done. When you stand in a position of leadership, it's not all done by your muscle, but it is done by your thought, by your brain power, by your motivation and your will to achieve. That's how it's done. Back to the lesson. The grievous family should never have to be tied down with the funeral arrangements. The most qualified person in the community should work closely with the family to arrange the services. This also is another important reason why there should be an established community. The wife, and it could be the husband, it could be the children, it could be an aunt, it could be an uncle, but I'm going to use the word wife. The wife of the grieving children should not, the wife or the grieving children should not have to be the one who becomes responsible for setting up the funeral arrangements for the deceased. But they should be involved in the process, which means that you have to get information from them to do it accurately. Upon the tradition, Salakli, upon the transition of the body, I should have took the word the out. Upon transition, the body should never be left alone. If the body cannot be secured, it should never be left alone. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? If you're living in the cities and your loved one passes away in a hospital, the moment that your loved one passes, somebody should be at that hospital to stay there with that loved one until they leave the hospital and go to where you're going to bury them. Do y'all understand what I'm saying? If one of our loved ones passes, that body should never be left alone. And there's a lot of reasons why that body should never be left alone. Also, if at all allowed, the body should not go to the morgue. Everybody, every city, every state, every province has a morgue. But the body should never go to the morgue. See, these are things that common people don't know. Common people don't understand. You have a right to the remains of your deceased. You have a right to it. But if we lived in a community on some land, all these things would be different. My wife's father, when he passed, he never went to a morgue. He didn't have to go to a hospital. He went straight from us to them, and they put him in the ground. There's a difference. But when you live in these cities, you entrust these hospitals to try to give you health. And when they fail to give you health and they bring you death, then they're going to tell you what has to happen with the remains after you lose a loved one. Nobody wants to hear that. Why? Because we have customary ways of doing things. They will most likely not release that body to you unless you got somebody like myself to come up and stand on your behalf. Somebody like a funeral, what do they call those people who work at the funeral? A mortician, to come up and speak on your behalf. Well, we have all that stuff in place, but you would never know because you don't deal with Beulah Land and Temple Kepharim. You don't associate with them on that level. You just come in for Shabbat class and you keep it moving. But you got to get involved in people and in the lives and the functions of people, because you should be surprised how people can help. None of us know when something this drastic will happen to any of us. None of us knows. But we have people in place for these reasons. Your body, your loved one, your deceased, his corpse, her corpse, their corpse should never go to the morgue. And a lot of people don't understand that. For in the morgue is where many human remains are defiled. They cut the body open. Oftentimes, the body organs are removed. The bones are stolen. And newspaper is often the substitute for these items. They cut the body open and they take all your vital organs, whatever is left. If somebody died by a gunshot to the heart, they'll take the kidneys, they'll take the liver, they'll take the brain, they'll take the eyeballs. They take all these things. They take all these parts and they sell it on the open market. If they don't sell it on the open market, they sell it to another people who need it at another hospital. That's not right. Those body parts belong to you. This is a whole lot deeper than we can imagine, family. Well, Oregon donor driver's license is something that you should never have. Do not voluntarily donate your organs to anyone. And that's correct. But it was properly cared for. Therefore, it needed to be embalmed. Invest and recovery made a comment, and he's the person is correct. Jacob and Joseph's bodies were transferred after their deaths. This delayed their burials, absolutely, but that was something that couldn't be prevented. And not only that, well, see, Jacob's, Joseph's, if I'm not mistaken, in both cases, it was their bones that was transferred, not their bodies, but their bones. They had already decayed. It was like in a mausoleum of some type that was above the ground. But Joseph, was it Joseph? I believe it was. I believe it was Joseph. Jacob said, take my bones out of here and put them there. And then his son died later, and the same thing happened. But they didn't leave him in Egypt. They took him to the land of Canaan, and there they buried him. Yes, Sister Saadia brings it up, a very good point. 17 rabbis were arrested in New Jersey for harvesting and selling body organs to vulnerable people. She's right, absolutely right. And a lot of that comes because you send your bodies to the morgue. And you shouldn't allow the morgue to have custody and possession over the remains of your loved one, no matter how old, no matter how young. You should always take possession. Somebody should be right there with the person when they die and stay there with the body until the time that they go in the ground. That's a very important part. Illegal trafficking organs, illegally trafficked organs are very expensive. According to some reports, the cost of a kidney, the most common trafficked organ, can range from $50,000 to $120,000.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to tell me they not going to take your organs and they can get that kind of money for you? They will do it. They will cut you open, take your organs, and stuff your body with newspaper. Who's going to know? Because when you go to the casket, for us, it should be a closed casket. But for them, for the common person, when you go to the casket to inspect the body, you don't do no inspection because the body is closed with clothes on. The head is sitting back like this. You never see that they split the skull and took his brain out. You don't see none of that. And then they stuff newspaper inside. They put PVC pipe inside for the bones so that the body is still stiff and maintains its position. They do all these types of things to our deceased. See, these are things you don't have to worry about if you lived in a Hebrew community. You understand? Every week we give these lessons and we teach these things. It's always answered with living in a Hebrew community. This is what we must do. We have to be mindful of a community. We have to be motivated toward a community. Yes. You want to say something? All right. Ima want to say something.
No, I was just going to say also, prior to going into a community, if you're a person who has lived by yourself or have family and you've signed paperwork to other people to have possession of your body, you either need to have that conversation with them so they know what's going to happen when you die, or if you die and they're not Hebrew, they can do whatever they want, with your body and your possession. So
all that is in a lesson, but thank you.
Yeah.
That's a very good point. Very important point that a lot of people don't understand. Well, first of all, I don't like to say that. First thing you should keep in mind is that a power of attorney doesn't mean a thing after a person dies. Power of attorney is only good while the person is alive. But there are things you have to put in your will, that you have to put in writing in your will, that you give possession of your remains to a particular individual or particular group, to have possessions of your remains once you pass away. Everybody should have that in writing. All right. I have a situation that's going to come up in a little bit over here. All right. Sister Higdalia, let me see what's going on. Ima, I want to go on mute for a minute. You got some things you want to read? You said something about being in a hospital. You can start from there and go down, please.
Can't hear you, Princess.
Todarba, Salakli, everyone, Shabbat Shalom. I was saying, my comment was when you're in a hospital, to read all their paperwork and decline any and all forms that give them any type of control of your body, alive or dead. Have a person to be your advocate at all times. Like that's so important because there's different verbiage in hospital paperwork. And even though it seems like you're just signing, hey, I'm just signing saying you could take care of me, you could be signing over certain rights that you're not understanding because you're not reading the complete form. And ask questions. There was never a time when I was in the hospital with my father or my mother, anything they brought in there, I asked questions of what is this? What does it entail? Why are we doing this? Because one thing is they're not used to people asking questions. The other part is when you ask questions, it causes them to rethink whatever their mission is. Whether they change their mind or not, they have to think about it because you're giving them more things to think about. And then also, sometimes once they read it, you understand, oh, they just worded it differently. You was about to sign something, but they just worded it differently. So when you ask those questions, then they have to say, oh, and you didn't say, oh no, I don't want that. They just gave a different name for a medication, but you're agreeing to it because hey, it's not what they said in the first place. It's something new. My advice is always to ask questions and always have someone present. Never leave a person in the hospital alone. Brother Asa says they use the body parts for research and other rituals. So true. So true. Chief Malak says, yep, because they will take organs. They definitely will. They take organs like it's candy. It's money for them. Saadia said to stuff newspaper, that's disgraceful. And then Malka Higdalia brought up a case in Georgia where they did that. His name was Kendrick Johnson in Valdosta, Georgia. And the mother wanted an independent autopsy, and newspaper is all they found. And they really did that. And it's just despicable what they're doing to our people. Brother Asa says Yosef honored Jacob's wishes after he died. All his brothers honored Yosef's wishes to transfer his body in Genesis 50. Cain.
May the Most High be praised. Total Rabbah. Very good. And I like the participation. Everybody's raising questions, bringing up things. You want to take that, Ema TT? Sister TT?
All right. Ema TT says, recently, when my mom was hospitalized, I stayed on deck. My mom told me to stay home. I refused. Absolutely. Absolutely.
You see,
and I'm sorry. Sister Chelsea, Lyrical Dream says it's the anniversary of Kendrick's death as well. Yeah, it is.
You see, things are important. When one of your beloved is hospitalized, most Black folk leave the hospital because we don't want to be sitting in the hospital all day. What that shows is your lack of concern for the safety of that individual. Someone should always be in that person's care and custody while they're in the hospital. I've only had to go to the hospital with my children, so therefore I had to stay. It's always been my children for different things, various things. And they came home, we were safe, but someone should always be there for their safety. so that you can make decisions and allow people to know what to do and what they can't do, and to make sure that they don't do some sneaky stuff. All right. Mr. Otter says his father was in the hospital for 6 months, and he stayed there with his father back and forth, and that's good. And that's what it needs to be. And then after he passes, someone needs to stay with the body until the body goes in the ground, just to make sure that no mischief is befalling the corpse. Another important thing that a lot of people don't understand is that there should be no embalming of the body. None of our people should be embalmed unless absolutely necessary. But that would be so far out of the realm of things that I would say none of our people should be embalmed. Everyone should be in the ground within 3 days. Everyone should be in the ground within 3 days, if possible. And I mean, going through all means to make it happen. And if somebody can't get there and he just can't get there, they might have to watch it virtually. There should be no embalming of the body. There shall be no cremation for the deceased. Cremation was a practice of the ancient surrounding pagans. The scripture I used was Genesis chapter 3, verse 19. And this is what it says. In the sweat of thy face thou shalt eat bread till thy return to the ground. To thy return where? To the ground. For out of it was thou taken. From dust thou art, and into dust shalt thou return, back unto the ground. That's what the Father says. So none of us should be practicing cremation. Cremation is when they burn the body. Now, there are very few instances of cremation in the scriptures. Very few instances. And most of those instances was done with wicked people. Again, another example of what happened to the remains of wicked people. Almost anything. We, the children of Israel, should never cremate our loved ones. Never. For it goes against the principles of Torah. And if you have cremated one of your loved ones, then just ask the Most High to forgive you and don't do it again. Ask the Creator, the Merciful One, for forgiveness and pray for their soul, their essence, and don't do it again. Just don't repeat it. All right? But cremation was a practice that was practiced by the Greeks, the Romans, and the Indians. Those other people practiced cremation. We didn't. You remember the Vikings? They practiced cremation. I ain't talking about the black Vikings. I'm talking about the European Vikings. The people in England, they practiced cremation because it was so filthy. Their bodies were, they didn't start practicing cremation until the Muslims came over there and had to help them to clean up the state, the country, because there was so many dead bodies just laying on the street. And they would just let the bodies die and just leave them there. And it was a wrap. Some of them used to be in the caves with dead bodies. They'd be in the cave eating something and a dead body right next to them. They'd gotten so accustomed to living in that way. All right. Read on, please. Read on, please.
You want the comments?
No. Oh, yeah. Let's go to the comments now. I was going to do something funny.
All right. We have quite a few comments. Let me scroll up just a little. All right. I'm sorry, everybody. I think I was just saying those moments of taking care of a sick and passing loved one brings on a strength unrecognizable. Imatiti says, no hospitalization if one passes at home. It is when one passes to get them to a safe practice as you described. Oh, brother Akot Saadia says, I thought Adon Yosef embalmed Abinu Yaakov. And Asa says, there's a need for a cause of death and a medical certificate, hence the need for the institutions.
There's a
Well-
need for cause of death and medical certificates, hence the need for institutions. All right, let's address that issue, please. You want to say something?
Yeah, I did. I would say that when my mother and father both passed away in my home at different times, right? The doctor that we knew came to the house and pronounced her death. We already knew because we took her from the hospital and brought her home for her to be able to pass. So we knew what the cause of death was. We didn't have to go to them. And then, of course, both of my parents were buried in an Islamic way. So they asked us what was the cause of death, which we knew. And then the same with my father, he had a heart condition, so we knew it. And when the hospice people came, they just pronounced the time. But medical records usually that's what they go by. And so you don't really have to take them to certain institutions for them to determine that, or to get the death certificate that comes from the funeral homes though. And then if you, like we do on our land, once we establish our place of burial, then we will have certain allowances through the county to be able to prescribe death certificates or work with a company that does it, where they still don't have, they're still not coming to take over what we're doing. Did you want to say something? Okay.
But you can go ahead and finish your readings. That way you can let it keep going back and forth.
Okay. And then
Address that.
Akot Saadia says, Bereshit 50, verse 2, and Yosef commanded his servants, the physicians, to embalm his father, and the physicians embalmed Yisrael. Okay. Chief Malak said, it definitely brought on a strength I never knew I had, Baruch Shemo. And Akot Saadia said, no wonder the increase of illness. And Imotiti says, at Princess Madaya, I was getting double teamed by Saadia and my mom, and the Creator gave me the strength to lift a building. I know that's right. Baruch Hashem. I think that was it.
Yeah, the mic, please. She a little slow on the hand trigger. Okay, let me deal with the first issue that I recall, and that was Yosef allowing the embalming of his father. You have to remember that they was traveling with the body. So he had to be embalmed because they was traveling from Egypt to bury him back in the land of Canaan, where they came from. So that body had to be embalmed because it was be on the road for so many days and it would be unclean. You follow me? I mean, it would not be unclean. It would be deteriorated. Remember what I said about 3 days? The body being unrefrigerated for 3 days, it start deteriorating. Well, they had to travel on the road to apply with his wishes, to give him his desire, to have him taken somewhere else. So they had to embalm him. So that's the explanation for that. And also in my lesson, I said, if it needs to be absolutely, if it had to be this way, then whatever you have to do, you have to do. Yes, the Egyptians practiced embalming their pharaohs. Why? Because they was trying to preserve their lives forever. And a lot of those embalmings, it shows you how it prevents the body from deteriorating. But if you also notice, the Egyptians put their embalmed bodies in caskets, in sarcophagus, so that it could stay in a condition where the minerals from the earth wouldn't get into it to eat it up, to deteriorate it. Therefore, they embalmed it. But yeah, well, that's all a part of the embalming process. Well, the embalming is a part of the mummification process. But let's deal with our people because we're not Egyptians. Now, we should never embalm our people, and our body should be in the grave within 3 days. If it be that you have to allow the body to remain outside of the grave for over 3 days and it's not refrigerated, it would have definitely needed to be embalmed. But Creator willing, we will always be able to bury our dead, our deceased, our departed, our loved ones' remains within 3 days. So we don't have to worry about embalming. But if all else fails, there is no power in your hands, then you have to do what you have to do. And I don't want you to feel bad about it. Then you have to do what you have to do. All right, you got some comments here?
All right, shalom. Okay, Malcolm Hegdalia says, we need to be willing to embrace leaving the system as much as possible. We do not need many of their institutions for anything. It is just familiar.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, she was, okay, Hanasi. That's why you're Hanasi, Toda More. And Brother Asa says the Egyptians practiced embalming of their pharaohs, which you addressed. And then Malcolm Hegdalia says they thought they were saving the shell for another life. Great example of how a practice could be unnecessary and rooted in idolatry. And then Brother Asa says, in the cases of murder or other criminal investigations, we must allow for adequate time.
No, we don't.
No,
we don't.
Shabbat Shalom. Oh, Gabby says, Shabbat Shalom, family. Shabbat Shalom, sis. Okay.
Now, Brother Asa mentioned earlier that it is a need for their institutions sometimes. Now, nothing is absolute. I can never say that anything is absolute. But we don't need their institutions. We can do everything ourselves. Like, for example, when we have a baby, one would think that we need to take our babies to the hospitals, but we don't need to. If you're going to take your baby to the hospital, it's just so that they can do their checkup to make sure that that baby is alive, so that your recorded birth goes on record that your child did visit their institution. That's it. But we can have our babies born at home. And they don't have to get no medication, no medical shots, no needles, no nothing. You can deny access to all those things. And if you really, really want to know, you don't even have to go to the hospital to report the birth of your baby. You just need a physical record of the land at the land. We have our own birth certificates. We type up our own birth certificates. The baby we just had ain't never been to the hospital. We type up our own birth certificate. Indigenous, Aboriginal, Hebrew Israelite birth certificates. And they're able to be utilized wherever you go. We type up our own marriage licenses, and they are able to be utilized wherever you go. We will do our own death certificates. We've never had to do one as of yet, but we will. We'll produce our own death certificates. And if we need to get somebody, that's what I was talking about, whoever's in charge of the funeral arrangements, to be licensed in the state to perform these things, then that's what we'll do. We're willing to invest our money, our resources, our time into whatever we need to substantially build this nation. We're serious about this. This is real to us. A lot of people just talking the talk and want to walk around and ridicule and criticize, but actually are producing nothing. Nothing substantial to help our people. But we getting the work done. We're putting it in because we understand the need that is needed for our people. We are so far off. We're so under the gun. So many things we're not able to do because we rely on others to do what we need to do for ourselves. And we seek their approval in everything that we do, but we don't need to. We're able to do things on our own. But the problem is we rely so much on them. Sometimes you need to stand up and challenge the system. And if you're afraid, then you're the wrong one to be in leadership position. Challenge the system. And you will see that most of the times they sit down and let you do what you got to do, because you know why? You come under the cloak that they call religion. You have a status that supersedes their government in so many things. But you who are henpecked and so used to what the Western man say, we so relied on them to do what we need to do. That's how we move. We're not like that. And if you're going to be like that, then Temple Kepharim, Beulah Land of Temple Kepharim is not the place for you, because we challenge the system. I was thinking about my my spiritual mother. Last time she delivered one of my children, we ran into a situation with the police in the hotel. Police come knocking on the door, and Prince going to war with the police verbally. And the last time she came here, again, right in my own home, Prince going to war with the police, because we don't care about the police. Who are they to tell us when we know we standing on righteous grounds? You have to have that same attitude, but yet you got to be in the right. You got to know how to move and manipulate and do what you need to do. And a lot of us are afraid when it comes time for us to go against the established order that the people have set for us. They don't care about you. If you don't stand up for yourself, they're going to run all over you. They're going to run all over you. So what we going to do, family? Because if one of ours passes away, we got to do what we got to do to put them away. With a high hand, with a loud voice, with humble spirit, we have to put our own away. And that's what we do. Because we live in a rural area, and we have so much land in a rural area, we don't fall under the laws that they have for a cemetery that's under their leadership. We have our own laws and regulations. We don't have to do what, and this is what I got from them. So I'm not just telling you that to be a rebel against what their authority is. I'm telling you what they told me. Mr. Israel, you ain't got to worry about that, because you live in a rural area. You can bury as many and however you want. Just keep a record, please. But I know we got to keep records, but we bury our own. We don't need permission from nobody to do what we need to do. There is so much that you don't need permission to do. But the problem is a lot of us are afraid. So we bend down to them. We give them superiority and rulership over us when really, in reality, they have none. I'm the king. I'm the king of Israel. Look at me. I'm the king. But if I ain't got no people to rule over, what use am I going to, what's the purpose of being a king? King to myself? That's foolishness. Only if the people will submit and give you the authority to rule over them does that make you a king. Same thing with this government. As long as we keep giving the government permission to rule over us, then they will. And their authority reigns supreme. But the moment we take it back, and I mean take it back in a righteous way, then they have no authority over us. We don't have to abide by their guidelines. I'm even talking about down to the driver's license. You can even travel on these streets. And you notice I use the word travel and not drive, because it's all in the terminology and how you word it. That's why I always say, let's travel, family. It's so much for us to learn. So much. But if you don't stand up as a nation and be recognized as a nation, you will never be a nation. If you keep letting them lead you and guide you in everything you do, you got to answer to them for it. You're not a man. You're not a leader. You don't know what you're doing. Why don't you shut up, be quiet, sit down, and let the leaders lead? There are too many pretenders out here. Too many people want you because they got 15,000 people in their congregations. But yet every child is being born that's a member of them is born in the hospitals. Their children go to the European schools to be taught. All these things are taking place, but yet they say they're leaders. And that's sad. No one shall receive a cremation. In Greece, cremation was an integral part of burial customs and became the dominant mode of dispositions by 800 BC. In Greece, Roman cremations was associated with the military honors, upper class citizens, and imperial family members. It became so prevalent that an official decree was issued in the mid-5th century against cremation within the city. In India, open-air cremations are still a regular occurrence, often along the Ganges River near Varanasi. Cremation is required whether a Hindu person dies and is referred to as atishi, which translates as last sacrifice. Man, they even call it a sacrifice. The Most High says that thou should not allow thy child to pass through the fires of Moloch. That was a cremation. You burnt your child up on the altar to sacrifice them to another deity. So many people today take their remains from their deceased and burn them up. The body can be wrapped with a garment of only 100% natural fabric. Usually, the natural fabric is linen, but it could be wrapped with linen, wool, and cotton. A lot of people wrap their deceased in these things, what they should be. A lot of our people, I'm gonna say people of color, who are a part of this system, the first thing they do is go out and get a suit to put their deceased in. If it's a female, go out and get a dress to put their deceased in. But how many actually think about going out to buy a shroud? And then when we wash the body, after we wash the body and anoint the body with oils, still paying respects to the dead, and we wrap them with a shroud. A lot of people don't do that. They say they Hebrew, but they're burying their dead like the pagans, like the heathens. How many of us who are really Hebrew are going to bury our dead like we're Hebrew? I know she's my mother and she didn't want to be buried that way. Well, if she didn't want to be buried that way and she told you, then I understand. I'm not going to argue with you. But if you got authority over what happens with the remains of your mother, then you should put your mother away respectfully. You should. If your mother or your father specifies, well, I want a certain type of situation, then that's what you give them. But if they don't, then you do what you know to do best. Do y'all follow me? So the fabric that you put should be 100% linen, wool, or cotton, if at all possible. The body, after being shrouded, should be placed directly into the soil. But this may be difficult in some cemeteries. Some cemeteries and states, they regulate and direct burials. They're prohibited from you putting the body straight in the ground. What we're saying is, once you anoint the body, you wash the body, you say prayers over the body, you bless the body, and it's time to put the body in the ground, it will be best from the dirt thou art, and to the dirt thou shalt return. Ki afar hashuv, you shall return. It will be best to have that body shrouded and put right down into the ground. Now, a lot of people don't know this about wool or linen, but linen helps to prevent the body from deteriorating from the moisture in the air. What I mean is, once you wrap the body in linen, it doesn't cause the body to sweat. So therefore, it's not deteriorating as fast. So you have time to take it from that table, take it to whatever arrangements you're doing for the deceased, and then put them in the ground. You have time for that. Some cemeteries will not let you put the body directly in the ground. So if this happens, what you should do is you should get a casket Now, this casket that you purchase should be made out of wood, 100% wood. It don't have to be expensive. It could be a pine box. A pine box that you made on the land from some plywood that you went out and brought and screwed it in and nailed it in and made a square box to put down in the ground when you put the deceased into it. What needs to be fancy about it? Nothing. See, what you're trying to do is rapidly increase the deterioration of the body. Therefore, it's best to put the corpse right in the soil so that the earth can immediately get to it. A pine box is going to get eaten up under the ground, and then the soil will get to the body and it will eat it up. And it will return back, as the Creator commanded, it will return back to its regular form, back to the earth as you have come. So if at all you're not able to put the body right into the soil, then it's best that you put it inside of a pine box and you bury it in the pine box. At least 6 feet deep. Why 6 feet deep? Because you don't want animals to go to your cemetery and dig it up. And usually animals don't go down 6 feet deep when they're digging. So you want to go at least 6 feet deep. And 6 feet deep is enough for a man's body to go down where the head will be right below the surface. At least 6 feet deep. So there we have with that. Leviticus chapter 16, verse 1. And this is what it says. And the Most High spake to Moses after the death of the two sons of Aaron, when they drew near before the Most High and died. And the Most High said to Moses, tell Aaron your brother not to come at any time into the holy place inside the veil, before the mercy seat, that is the ark, so that he may not die. For I will appear before the cloud over the mercy seat, but in this way Aaron shall come into the holy place. Now, how did Aaron get commanded to come before the Almighty? Now, I want you to pay close attention to this. The Creator commanded his priests that when they come before him, this is how they had to come. But in this way, Aaron shall come in the holy place with a bull from the herd for a sin offering and a ram of a burnt offering. But what was he wearing? He shall put on the holy linen coat and shall have the linen undergarments on his body. And he shall tie the linen sash at his waist and wear the linen turban. These are the holy garments. They shall bathe his body in water and then put them on. This is all happening on the Day of Atonement, the day of having one's sins removed. I need y'all to draw the correlation, because a lot of us are so asleep, we don't understand what's taking place. When a person leaves this life, we need for their sins to be removed. Is that right? The Most High on the Day of Atonement told Aaron how to properly dress in the process of having your sins removed. He wanted all linen on that body. Therefore, no matter how the life was of that individual, we're preparing them to meet their Maker. So therefore, we dressed them in all linen. But if you notice, it wasn't just that he dressed them in linen. He dressed them in linen, and then he had to bathe him before he put the linen on him. And then he had to anoint him before he put the linen on him, and after he bathed him. And we do the same thing to our deceased brothers and sisters. We bathe them, we anoint them, we recite some prayers over them, then we wrap them in linen to get them ready to meet their Maker. Again, honoring the dead. It is so important that you honor the dead. Matter of fact, if they're not even your dead, they're not your biological brothers or sisters that have deceased and transitioned, and you go and help in the process of them meeting their Maker, it will be accounted for you as a blessing. it will be a high blessing for you to help someone else prepare properly to meet the Most High. And don't be surprised if the Most High give you the desires of your heart for extending your time, your treasure, your emotions and everything, your money, KSF, if you needed it, to help someone else to make it along the way. Just as we were prepared to meet the Maker, the Creator, on the Day of Atonement to have our sins removed, is the same way that we are to prepare our dead so that they can meet the Maker and have their sins removed. Give them an opportunity to present them righteously before the Creator. No matter what life they lived, if they lived that foul of life, the Most High ain't going to let them see the grave. He's going to destroy them in a different way. And I'm talking about those who are servants of the Almighty. We had one brother pass away maybe about 20 years ago in Africa. What was that brother's name? Can't remember his name, but he was from here. And he went to Africa and he passed away. And the Israelites from here went over there to get his body and brought him back here so we could bury him. Beautiful thing. I forget this brother's name, and he was a good brother. Good. Samuel, I think his name was. Samuel. Yeah, I think his name was Samuel. I'm surprised you don't remember because he was from Georgia. Yeah, he was from Georgia.
Oh, he was an elder, right? Slim?
Yeah, he was, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't remember. That sounds his name.
Samuel, I believe his name is. But he lived in Georgia, but he went about 20, 25 years ago. He went to Africa to help build a community in Africa, and he passed away there. And Elder Daweed and another brother went over there to get his body, to bring him back, and we had a funeral. Samuel, that was his name, and we had a funeral for him in Georgia. And I wasn't from Georgia at that time. You remember him? That's right. It's a good brother. Another thing I want to mention to you all is that we have a Israelite foundation that's in place. It's the Israelite Burial Society, Hebrew Israelite Burial Society. And the brother that's in charge of that, his name is Za'ah Parah. Now, Za'ah Parah, if you get in touch with him to help in the process, if there's anybody need his information, you let me know, and I'll put you in contact with the brother. Za'ah Parah has been doing this for many years. Him and I have been very fond of each other. You know, in his early days is when I met him, and in my early days is when he met me. And we've been very fond of each other. Yeah. You got his link? Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Post it, please. Yes, bro. And my condolences. I heard about your email. Please, if there's anything that we can do as a family community, best believe we're there. We will actually, I'm in Philadelphia right now, but if I need to come down, you let me know and I'm there. Whatever I can do to help, I'll be there. My wife should be back in Atlanta this week, and I'm sure she'll be by. All right? Oh, you in Ohio? Okay. All right. Well, you got my number, bro. And let me know what's going on. Keep me updated with it. And I don't know what type of services you want to have for her, but if it's a Hebrew service and your brother that you're with is not able to do what needs to be done, or he's tied up, wrapped up, Prince is at your disposal. Whatever I can do. May the Most High be with you. Toda Rabbah. So that's the whole thing. Before wrapping the body, there should be blessings pronounced over it. Oil put on the body, and after a complete washing of the body, then the body should be shrouded with the garments. Now, so you go to the whole process. You go through the whole process of preparing the body, and now you go to the funeral service. Now, at the funeral service is pretty much how you see for it to be. except in our opinion, the casket should be a closed casket. You shouldn't have an open casket, but there are some who prefer an open casket at the end. Truthfully, it should be a closed casket. And you should allow everyone to remember that person as they last saw them. Now, I've seen a lot of people who have left this place and they didn't even look the same that they did when they're alive. And their structure, their physical structure, and many other things did not look like them any longer. Who wants to see that? And the people at the cemetery, the people at the grave, the funeral parlor, they can do but so much to restore you back to who you were. They can't do but so much. We prefer to have closed casket funerals of all sorts and allow the body, allow the person to be remembered in your mind as you last saw them in your mind. We don't want to interfere with that. Once at the gravesite, prayer should be pronounced over the corpse while lowering it into the ground. Afterwards, the body has been lowered into the ground. The family and friends of the deceased shall each take a shovel of the soil and cover the grave to completion, therefore being your brother's keeper. My wife just posted the...
It's a form, so I'm trying to get the website.
Okay, she's trying to get the website. Hebrew Burial Society. I want you all to understand that we are to lower our deceased into the ground. Physically, we are to do it. And then physically, we are to take the dirt and cover the grave of our deceased. We should do it because we are the ones who are looking after our brothers, his remains, and all that pertains to him. After the deceased has been laid to rest, prominent men of the family should adopt his responsibilities and raise his sons to maturity and provide assistance to his wife and his daughters. We should become responsible for what that man was responsible for during his lifetime. Do you understand me? When our loved ones depart, his wife shouldn't have to struggle after that. No harder than she was when he was alive. His children should still have an opportunity for a great future. But a lot of these things that I'm talking about can only come about if we have a structured community. See, a lot of people don't understand the benefit of community. And these are some of the benefits of community. His wife shouldn't have to struggle anymore, no more than what she did while he was here. And his children should still have somebody to look up to as a father figure. How often does that happen in the Black community? It doesn't. Because we have been westernized. We don't know what our culture or cultural enrichment is all about. If they don't have a father, then they should be given a father, because no child should come up fatherless. Do y'all understand what I'm saying to you? No child should come up without a father. And no woman should be having to be forced to live a life without a covering of some sort, whether it's a husband or a spiritual leader, an uncle, a brother. Somebody in this way should be her covering. We have to understand the urgency and the importance of these things. Not enough people are teaching on this level to bring about this type of information. These are real everyday life situations that we're dealing with, because it happens to all of us. But not enough of us stand up as men and take leadership role over situations, real life situations that happen with our people. We all should have to face this one day, or somebody we love is going to have to face it for us. So those links are in the room now, family. And if you're interested in contacting Za'al Parah and the Hebrew Israelite Burial Society, you can reach out to any of those and you will get it. The link will be there. And my condolences to you, Sister Gabrielle, in reference to your grandfather. May the Most High bless his memory. May the Most High bless his memory. We just heard that her grandfather just passed away. If there's anything, kind words, physical gesture, physical appearance. We didn't know your grandfather. I don't think we ever even met your grandfather, but if there's anything that we can do for you, because we're here for you through your grandfather, through you. We're here for your grandfather through you. So my wife will be reaching out to you. She'll have contact with you. And, we'll take it further because you all understand what we do. But these things are real. And it's happening every day in our lives. We're here every Shabbat at 11 o'clock. We're teaching on things that are needed and necessary for us to build a better relationship with the Almighty. Today at 4 o'clock, we'll return. We take a break at 2. We come back at 4, and our 4 o'clock class begins. And the 4 o'clock class today will be on Genesis 19, 20, and 21. After the deceased has been laid to rest, prominent men, notice how I said prominent men of the family should adopt his responsibilities and raise his sons to maturity and provide assistance to the wife and daughters of the deceased. Insurance policies should be in place for all living. Also, each may obtain a will to distribute one's assets after his life has ended. These are some of the things that a lot of our people don't even think about. We at Butyland and Temple Kifarim, we have a document that we like to get filled out by people, which gives us authority over your domains. And while you're alive, you go get these things filled out. It's a portion that you have to add to your will. And what it will happen is, if anything happens to you, creator forbid, we're now responsible. We're responsible for making sure that you get the proper treatment to go meet the creator. A portion of that should come out of an insurance policy that you should have in place to cover those charges, to make sure you get everything that you need. And yes, 30 days of mourning is usually what's required, or the minimum of what's required. Funeral departures, bereavement support and structure. Support groups. Now this here is a part of our pamphlet for B'nai Yisrael Temple Kifarim. It's a part of our pamphlet that we have in place that we created many, many years ago. We had a group of brothers from different communities. We all got together every Wednesday, Rebbe'i, and we sat down and we had meetings and we structured. And this is the structure that we came up with. And this is only a portion of that structure. Funeral/departure, bereavement support and structure. Support groups will assist the family in whatever way necessary with wills, insurance, cost of funeral arrangements. Israelite communities, if necessary, will assist with the cost of the funeral. Now, let's say one of your loved ones depart this life and you're not able to provide for it. You should go immediate to your spiritual leader and see what your spiritual leader will offer in assistance. Quite often we get texts from being a part of leadership in Israel. We get texts whenever a calamity happens in Israel, where the leadership is being requested to provide funding for whatever need it is for the majority of people. Matter of fact, we just got one this morning about a sister in Ohio who had a fire next door to her. That fire burned out her apartment as well. And so now she's on the street, she have nowhere to go, and the family is in need of financial support. So if anyone wishes to support that, you send your donation, Ima, if you put that up, send your donation to that group after Shabbat, not during Shabbat, but after Shabbat. But if you send your donation, I need you to label it that that's what it's for, and we'll make sure that we get it to the sister. But all these things are to take place after Achrei, after Shabbat. Please do not do it during Shabbat. But there must be some type of support group in place to help with these things. Because a lot of us, we don't follow instructions of leaderships, and we have no wills. And we have no life insurance in place. But these things are necessary. I would say even mandatory. Because a life insurance is not for you while you're alive. A life insurance is for the ones that you leave behind. That's what a life insurance is for. Necessities prior to burial that every Israelite should have. A will should be drafted and notarized and on file with the temple. That means you have to give us a copy and you give the state a copy, so that both places are informed of your desires and what you wish to be done. Insurance should be obtained or some other type of arrangements that will help cover funeral costs within the Israelite community. If you have an insurance policy and you put us down as a beneficiary for 5% of the policy or whatever it is, or a certain amount of money to cover your funeral, then so be it. We need a copy and the insurance company needs a copy. Rights of burial should be put in writing and given to those who will have power of authority or of attorney to eliminate conflicts of ceremony. That means that we don't need to be arguing and going back and forth with anybody over your remains. If all these things are spelled out while you're healthy and you're alive, that will help us to prevent from having problems. My wife told me a long time ago, well, not even that long ago, we just had this conversation the other day. She says to me, you'd be surprised how people change when somebody dies. You'd be surprised. I said, oh, no, we got it all figured out. She's right. People will change on you. They'd be sweet your whole life. And the moment you die, they looking for what they can get. Somebody I talked to the other day told me that they went to the funeral. And the moment the funeral was over, they went back to their father's house and people was already there taking stuff. Who was that, Chaka?
Telling us about when his grandfather died.
Yeah. People was already at the house. Funeral just ended. People beat him to the house. And they now taking stuff that belonged to the man. And that's not right. Matter of fact, it's disrespectful. The burial. Body should be buried as soon as possible. Body is to be wrapped in 100% cotton, wool, or linen, preferably linen. No embalming fluid unless completely, absolutely necessary. Body should be housed in a pine box / casket. Must be closed casket funeral. Further burial procedures will be done in conjunction with family of the bereaved, being a strict Israelite funeral only. No autopsy should be performed on the body. So the last portion of all this is Numbers, the 19th chapter. So let's go to Numbers, the 19th chapter, please, because this is after the funeral, the cemetery, and everything has been performed. Now you got to go to Numbers, the 19th chapter. And we're going to read what Numbers, the 19th chapter has to say. Yeah. You ready, family? Let's begin. Because this, again, is a lot of things that a lot of people don't know and understand about how to properly serve the Creator. Well, Prince is sharing this information with you today. Numbers, the 19th chapter. And the Most High spoke unto Moses and unto Aharon, saying, this... Oh, was it?
Okay.
This is the ordinance of the law which the Most High have commanded Moshe, saying, speak unto the children of Israel. If you want to put it up, you can. That they bring thee a red heifer without spot, wherein no blemish is, and upon which never came a yoke. And ye shall give her unto Eleazar the priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. And Eleazar the priest shall take of her blood with his fingers, and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation 7 times. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh and her blood, and her dung shall he burn. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Now these things was required, that after you handled the dead body, after you went into the house, after you went to the cemetery, on the 3rd day and the 7th day, there was a ritual process required by the Creator for you to go through. And so many of Israel today ignore 100% of this. And we shouldn't. Numbers chapter 19, verse 5. And one shall burn the heifer in his sight, her skin and her flesh and her blood with her dung shall he burn it, everything. And the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet, and cast it into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterward he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until the evening. And he that burneth her shall wash his clothes in water, and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until the evening. And a man that is clean. Notice how it's saying somebody that's clean. So this is somebody that has not participated in the process to become unclean by the reasons that we're about to get into. And a man that is clean shall gather up the ashes of the heifer and lay them up without the camp in a clean place. And it shall be kept for the congregation of the children of Israel for a water of separation. It is a purification for sin. And he that gathereth the ashes of the heifer shall wash his clothes and be unclean until the evening. And it shall be unto the children of Israel and unto the strangers that sojourn among them for a statute forever. Now, this is the part that you should be concerned with, Israel, because this is where it kicks in. And he that touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean 7 days. Now I got to say this to you again so you understand. He that touches the body, the dead body of any man shall be unclean for 7 days. Well, let me share this with you. The dead body is an unclean item. So why do they have the dead body in churches? Why do they take the dead body in the masjid and conduct a funeral service over a dead body in the masjid and in the church? They have the dead body up on the pulpit with the preacher man, and it's an unclean thing. Why is that? Because of ignorance. Our people don't know. They don't know. Neither do they understand. They walk on in darkness. All their ways are out of course. Thus saith the Most High. If you're an Israelite and you have a house of worship that you dedicate to the Most High as a sacred place, you should never carry a dead body into that place. You should have another facility set up for a place where you do your dead funerals, your bodies, and all those things take place. It should not be in your house of worship. So many Muslims take the dead body, and the same place where they prostrate themselves to the Creator is the same place where they put the dead bodies, therefore contaminating that place. bringing upon a negative energy as opposed to a righteous energy. And how many church funerals you've been to where they take the church, they take the dead body and put it on the pulpit of the church and have a funeral service for the dead body in the church. These are things that should not be done. Whosoever touches the dead body of any man shall be unclean for 7 days. He shall purify himself. Now, just because you're unclean for 7 days don't mean that on the seventh day, once the seventh day is over, you're clean. There's a process that you have to go through in order for you to be clean by the end of the seventh day. Now, why am I saying all these things? I'm saying all these things because there's a lot of us who have went to funerals, touched their bodies, stepped on the grave, went in a house where somebody died, and we never went through this process. But yet we call ourselves righteous servants before the Almighty. If these things have happened in your life, you can't change it now because the third and the seventh day is gone. But the best thing that you can do is go before the Almighty and ask him for forgiveness of your sin. Because up in the third verse, he called it a sin. Somewhere up there in the beginning of the chapter, he called it a sin. Therefore, you should ask the Most High to forgive you of your sins. And that what I just mentioned, will be a sin. If you touched a dead body, if you went into a house where somebody died, if you touched the carcass of a man, you are unclean. And no one unclean shall approach unto the Most High, the Most Holy. That's not the way it is. If you are unclean, you cannot enter into the house of worship for spiritual matters. Now, if your house of worship don't separate y'all for unclean reasons, then you need to question your leadership. Talk to him. Because any place you dedicate to the Most High is holy. That's the law. That's what the law says. Any place that you dedicate to the Most High is holy. And any house of worship that you have that you dedicate to the Most High, it should be exclusively for the service of the Almighty. Not for you to be having parties in the basement after Shabbat. Not for you to be having a baby shower or some of those nature of things after Shabbat. Shouldn't be for those purposes. Unless you got like a sanctuary or something else that you want to just, but you shouldn't do it anyway. If that building is set apart for the Most High, then that's what it should be used for. Now, you might want to get into something if you got a different part, but me, myself, it's all about the Most High. He shall purify himself with it on the third day, and on the seventh day he shall be clean. But if he purifies not himself on the third day, then the seventh day he shall not be clean. So you can't just sprinkle yourself on the third day and don't do it again on the seventh day and think you're cool. It don't go that way. Or you can't miss the third day and then get to the seventh day, say, I'm going to sprinkle myself today and I'm cool. It doesn't go that way. You have to sprinkle yourself on the third day. You have to sprinkle yourself on the seventh day. You know what I love about this? The Most High wants us to put forth effort to serve him. He wants us to put forth effort. So therefore, he requires that on the third day and on the seventh day, we get sprinkled with the waters of purification. Now, of course, the water of purification required a certain ritual process to make the exact waters of purification. We can't do that today. We don't have a priesthood established. So therefore, we can't do that. So what we have to do is make it to the best of our ability. And what I would suggest, some people might laugh at it, but it's the best that we can do. I would suggest that right before the sun goes down, you take a bath and you wash with water, take a shower. And after the sun goes down, when it's dark outside, you go and boil some water on the stove, put some salt in it, and say some prayers over the water while it's boiling. Recognizing that you don't have the red heifer, the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the priest to add to it. But Father, please see our efforts. And all our efforts to be pleasing to you. Please recognize and understand. And if it all will be possible, Father, please allow these sins to be removed from us from this process that we're going through. That's all we can do because we are in the land of our captivity. Your heart will be willing. You just won't have everything you need to get it done. So you do the very best you can with a clean spirit to obey this king. And whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Most High. You cannot go to the house of worship if you have not done that. So all these brothers and sisters walking around talking about they got a house of worship and then they bring a dead body up into the place. The place is abominable now. This is just a joke. And if you yourself have touched a dead body, the grave or the bone of a man, or into a house where somebody has died and you have not gotten yourself purified, somebody right now is saying to me, "Oh, Prince, that was the law. Jesus paid the price and we ain't got to worry about that no more." Jesus told you, if you want to be righteous, keep the law. This is a law. Keep it. Whosoever touches the dead body of any man that is dead and purifieth not himself, defileth the tabernacle of the Most High. That soul shall be cut off from Yisrael, because the water of separation was not sprinkled on him. He shall be unclean. His uncleanness is yet upon him. So after today, family, you don't have to argue with Prince about what you is and what you ain't doing. If you have a discrepancy with anything that you've learned today, take it to the Father. Take it to the Almighty and let him dispute this for you. Take it with a pure heart and pure conscience, and maybe he'll give you an answer. This is the law. When a man dieth in a tent, all that cometh into the tent and all that is in the tent shall be unclean 7 days. All that dieth in the tent and all that cometh into the tent shall be unclean. For 7 days. You notice the first time I ever noticed that everything in the tent was unclean. I knew that any open vessel, earthly vessel that had a lid off of it that was open, I knew that was unclean. But the Creator just said that everything in the tent is unclean. And it shall be unclean for 7 days. And every open vessel with no covering bound upon it is unclean. So if you got food inside of a container, let's say you got flour in a paper bag and there's no opening, it's open, and it's in there when that man dies or that woman dies or that child dies in the house, that flour is now unclean. It shouldn't be used. It should never be used. And every open vessel which have no covering bound upon it is unclean. And whosoever touches one that is slain with a sword in the open field, or a dead body, or a bone of a man, or a grave, shall be unclean 7 days. And for an unclean person, they shall take of the ashes of the burnt heifer of purification for sin, and running water shall be put them in a vessel. And a clean person shall take hyssop and dip it in the water and sprinkle it upon the tent and upon the vessels and upon the person that were there and upon him that touches a bone or one that is dead or a grave. He's supposed to take it and sprinkle it on those things, or anybody that touched any of these things that made him unclean. He shall be sprinkled with the waters of purification. And the clean person shall sprinkle upon the unclean on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And on the 7th day, he shall purify himself. How do you purify yourself? Before, with the sun going down, you go take a bath and you wash your clothes. On the 7th day, he shall purify himself and wash his clothes and bathe himself in water and shall be clean at even. Numbers 19, verse 20. But the man, and this is a very powerful command, and it's sad that so many people don't take heed to it because it's really serious. It's a real serious command. And this is a lot of the reason why a lot of us are in the condition that we're in today, because we are unclean, standing before the Most High trying to make prayer. And the Most High says that no unclean man shall approach unto him. Not that he doesn't have mercy and forgive, but you got to ask for that forgiveness. You got to ask for that mercy. But the man that shall be unclean and not purify himself, watch how serious this is to the Creator. That soul should be cut off from among the congregation. So if you just ignore this and say, I don't care what Prince said. I know what the book say, but I don't care. I can't do that. This is what I'm going to do. If you just ignore this, then the Most High said he will cut you off from the midst of your people. Because he has defiled the sanctuary of the Most High. The waters of separation has not been sprinkled upon him. He is unclean. And Mr. Otter put up in the room, yeah, I'm unclean by the dead. You're right. So you have to go before the Almighty and ask him in complete submission to forgive you for your sin. You have to. We all must, because we are all unclean. There is none that is not. And it shall be a perpetual statute unto them. So it don't just last while you're in the land of Israel. It don't just last while you're in the rulership government. It says a perpetual, which means that it shall be forever. It shall be a perpetual statute unto them, that he that sprinkleth the waters of separation shall wash his clothes, and he that touches the waters of separation shall be unclean until even. And whatsoever the unclean person touches, now this is the thing, and whatever, now I read this in Hebrew and English, it says the exact same thing. If you don't go through this process, whatever you touch becomes unclean. That's how powerful of a commandment you're reading about today. Whatsoever the unclean person touches shall be unclean, and the soul that touches it shall be unclean until even. Just like if a woman is on her nida and she sits on something, if somebody touches that, they unclean until even. This person who is unclean and has not been purified through this process because they're unclean by raising of the dead, anything that they touch is unclean. So if they touch you, you're unclean until the evening. May the Most High be praised. To the Rabbah. Thank you, family, for coming in and participating. So now we want to know if there are any questions. Question and answer time. Are there any questions? Anybody know how to say that in Hebrew? I have a question. Yeah. Yesh li she'ela. Yesh li she'ela. There is a question of mine. I have a question. So if there are any questions, any comments, family, please. But I've given to you the duration of this lesson is actually 153, but we need to have conversation now. Is there anything you got out of this lesson that you see helpful or useful for you?
One thing I did get, and I noticed at the end when you said the unclean, anything he touches, like you brought it up about the unclean woman, but I know with the unclean woman, it's not what we touch, what we sit upon. So, and that just shows you how impactful that touching of the dead body is. Like just anything we touch, a chair, a wall, like that's a lot to consider, you know, even in separating yourself during that time, because you can make you make anything unclean or anybody. So that's also a time of separation. So
This is true. Anything you touch, you become unclean. That thing becomes unclean. So you walking around, you know how many people walking around here right now think they clean, holy, and righteous, and never even ask the Creator for forgiveness of becoming unclean by reason of the dead? They've never even asked, and they are unclean. And then sometimes you wonder why your prayers are not being answered, why your life is so difficult and you're having such a hard time. Sometimes that's the reason why. Sometimes because you ain't got no business approaching the Creator. This is one of the reasons why we teach our people that whenever you make prayer and you go before the Creator, you always ask the Creator for permission to approach Him before you go into your prayer, because you never know how unclean you are. So always ask the Creator for permission, just out of respect for His holiness. Before you start your prayer, Father, thou who art in the heavens, please, Salakli, please forgive me of my sins and my uncleanness. May I approach unto your throne. May I approach unto you, Father, always before you make prayer. Ask the Creator for permission to approach His throne.
That's right.
Anyone else? What you get out of the lesson today, family? Come on now, talk to me, family. Talk to me. I know we had to be useful for somebody.
Absolutely. Well, while we're waiting for everyone else to come in, I can truly say that having gone through the experience myself, that first of all, took her about to you and you, Prince Kes and Princess Madaya and the sisters, because that was, well, y'all were there before, during, and after. So much appreciated for that. Plus, having done a funeral myself in the past, it's a completely different feel, the way that we take care of our loved ones when they're deceased. Because it's a lot, well, for one, when you look at funerals, the way that they're traditionally done now in this country, it's a lot of really hands off. The funeral home handles everything, and you're basically a spectator and a bystander. But whereas when my sons and I, when we went, when my lady Shaw, when she passed, may the Most High bless her memory, from digging the site itself, because we did all that by hand, to laying her to rest, and the preparation that the sisters did was just outstanding. She just like she would just sleep, just beautiful. And so the impression too that I found that was also impacting was, for those that are not in this walk, my sister was there, and some other family members were there. My mom was there, and my sister, she was there because she loved her so much. And so she said, I didn't know what I was supposed to touch or not touch. She said, I was just there. She said, I was probably in the way, but she was there just to be a help and to lend a hand. And that was impacting because on her husband's side of the family, her husband there were members of the family that are Muslim. And so it wasn't foreign to her when we told her how the procession was going to go. And so just the fact that she was there, and many that were there in attendance, it was their first time witnessing something like that. So it's very impacting. And it's quite visceral, because like you're right there, hands on, all the way down. There's no machine lowering your loved one. It was my sons and I, and we did that. And like I say, just to show the care of our loved ones from start to finish and to their final resting place. It is very impactful. It is very impactful. And it's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. And so I appreciate you all. I mean, I can never express how much, but I will continue to do so as long as I have breath in my body, because the preparation and the amount of care that was given was just outstanding. It was outstanding. So, and I'm appreciative of that. And then, just like you said, as you mentioned earlier, I'm thankful for having my own land, because, like I say, that being said, you don't have to go and pay all these fees and all these dues to. It's not about the money per se, but about having your own and having a place where you can lay your loved ones to rest, and you can lay them. You know they're going to be. It's going to be a nice place. It's a peaceful place, and it's a set apart place. And so again, like I said, it's very impactful. And everything that you, even with the lesson coming forth, for those that haven't experienced it, that transition is not a pleasant time, because you always miss that loved one. But it is in the way that you lay them to rest, especially doing it properly, the way according to the customs of our people, it is so key. And you were definitely on point with all the information, because that was something that was new to me as well. And so I appreciate that. I appreciate you all immensely, and I'm eternally in your debt for that. And so, and again, for the education that it brought about, because there's a level of intimacy that takes place at that point that's unparalleled from any other westernized funeral. So again, it is very impacting. And for those that were in attendance, and I was also thankful to so many of our family members, because like I said, that my sons and I, we were so busy digging and making the resting place, making preparation, that did have, for those family members that came out of the woodworks, there was so much food. They brought tables, they brought, I mean, everything, because at the time my mind was just focused on just trying to get that part done. And so again, like I say, the family that stepped up. And when I say family stepped up, I don't say and the Bueller family, because y'all are family. So I don't have, there's no and there, because you are family. And so again, much love. And so, and the information that you brought forth on today was actually phenomenal, because like as you were walking it out, it was again, that as you don't just talk the talk, but you walk the walk, especially in that respect. So you did, and you were there and you were on point. And so my appreciation, my hats are off to you, and much love always, Mr. McConnell. You.
May the Most High be praised. Total Rabbah. My honor. Believe me. We got a lot of things on the sideline, Ima, if you want to address them. Okay. I'll go on mute.
Shabbat shalom, lekulam. I'm going to read comments. My apologies. Ima Sakari asked the question. It says, so it's 7-3 or 1 day of unclean to prepare oneself. I did ask her to explain, or ask what does she mean. So hopefully she'll explain the question a little more. Brother Asa said, thanks for this timely presentation. It reminds us of the importance of treating the dead with honor and dignity, and is a useful guide in addressing matters relating to them afterwards. Chief Malak says, love your lessons, Prince Kaz. Just wish I was able to elaborate through the link, but I'm sitting in service as we speak. Baruch Shemo, Shabbat Shalom at Prince Kaz at Elder Matataya, Way Go.
May the Most High be praised. Total Rabbah.
Sister Gabby asks, if someone is terminally ill, should you bring up the subject of burial arrangements or no?
Yes, absolutely. You better bring them up. And bring them up while they're still alive, in case they need to give you instructions on something.
Yeah, and that was my reply too. I said, yes, that's important because once they are gone, only assumptions can be made. And then I said, it was an honor for my daughters and I to be of service. We love y'all infinitely. That experience changed me and my girls too.
May the Most High be praised.
Kosaada said, this was a phenomenal lesson because I did not consider that Abinu Yaakov was embalmed due to be, I think she's going to type some more. Okay. Due to being carried back home, I appreciate the insight of why this occurred, because I was not aware that the practice of embalming was rooted in idolatry. MC Carr says, for cleansing, the days one must set aside.
Ima, you have to be cleansed on the 3rd day and on the 7th day. And after the 7th day, then you're clean. So it's the 3rd day first and then the 7th day. So 3 days after touching the dead body or going into the house of somebody that died, or touching the bone of a man who's died, or touching the grave or walking on the grave of a person that died. 3 days after that, then you have to be sprinkled. And then on the seventh day, you have to be sprinkled again. And then at the completion of the seventh day, you're pronounced clean. May the Most High be praised. But I thought there was a lot of other comments up here. Okay.
I think it was just throughout your lesson. So, and I
All right.
thought you said,
All
Brother
right,
Asta, hold on, Brother Asta says, would a spiritual leader be rendered unclean for participating in a burial today, considering that the Kohen could not participate?
he will be unclean. Absolutely, he'll be unclean. But the only thing he can do is go before the Almighty and ask him for forgiveness of his uncleanness. You know, and get the waters of purification to sprinkle him. And that will be the answer. Ask the Creator for that and to do what you have. We have to bury our dead. See, these are one of those things that we have to do. If we don't have the waters of purification, then we make a replica of that. And we ask the Most High for forgiveness. And we do what we have to do to bury our dead because it's an honor to put someone in the ground.
Mm-hmm.
We have to understand the corpse of our beloved is not a wicked or cursed thing. It does make one unclean, but it itself is not a wicked or cursed or evil thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that should be honored and revered, something that should be reverenced in a way that you take special care of putting it to its final resting place. But once you put it in its final resting place, then you move on.
I just wanted to also say, in reference to cleaning a body or, your family's, your loved one's body or someone you might not even know, it is important that when family decide who's going to clean the body, that they trust those people because that process is very sacred. I had only cleaned prior to cleaning Aaliyah's body, my mother. And of course, I don't really even remember that because I was just in kind of like a daze. But when I walked in to clean Amalia's body, a whole different presence come upon you. And you have to know that this is a sacred space. And you have to also, it's kind of like a bond you form with that person. And then it's honoring them. You're not going to go out and talk about what you saw, of the dead body on them. You're not going to go tell, spreading what they look like in that moment, because that's not, first of all, it's about dignity, and integrity. And that's why I said it changed me, because I won't say I did it with my mom, but like I said, I don't really remember it because, like I said, I was in a fog. But doing her, it just gave so much more respect to this whole concept of taking care of our loved ones, our people when they leave us. And you being the one, someone close to you, someone in your family, because I could only imagine how people who don't know your family treat the body. I can't even imagine the disgrace, the way that, water can tear open wounds, all that stuff. So it just taught me a lot about grace, being patient, and just being just soft with the body. We think, oh, it's a dead body, you could do whatever. But in that moment, I just knew like I had to give her the same honor she would have given me, or taking care of her body as it's precious, like a newborn baby. So, and for my daughters, they talked about that experience. And even for us, the three of us to do it together was bonding, because it was something we had to trust one another in that moment. And then, as you said, your sister was there, and she was not in the way. She was helping. She was handing paper towels, just saying, anything we needed. And that was so beautiful, because you don't even realize what you need in that moment until you're in that moment. And so everybody that was there was so helpful. I think it was two other sisters there, your sister and one of her best friends. And they were so helpful, making sure that we had everything we needed. So, those times are very sacred. Those times are very vulnerable. And like I said, I'm honored to be of service to Aaliyah. And I just would tell anybody, whoever you get to do it, trust them, and make sure that they have the patience and the desire to want to be of that service, because it's not an easy job at all. So, say who? Brother Asa said, also reminded that Pesach time we should avoid participating in barrels if we can.
Absolutely.
Chief Malak says, yeah, it's different. Me and my 5 brothers went through that process. Didn't even make the people who worked there wash him. We dressed him. Then I kissed him.
All right. Most High be praised.
And Kitar says, Todar Prince, the information you provided is eye-opening and a reminder of how fragile life is. Shows me that planning ahead is not just a suggestion, but a requirement for all in the culture.
Most High be praised. Can I have the mic back?
Yes. You got it.
All right. She gave me the mic back again. I was talking earlier. I don't know if y'all heard me or not. I was speaking earlier. I wasn't sure if y'all heard what I said or not. I looked down and realized I didn't have the mic, and I didn't know if she cut her mic off. So if y'all see my lips moving, and y'all can see my lips if they move. They not little lips. They regular, nice size lips. So if you see my lips moving and you didn't hear nothing, then my mic was off. So please forgive me.
But Zaquina Laurel has I could say it loud.
Okay, go ahead.
Zaquina Laurel says, Torah for an amazing lesson. I've learned a lot. Preparation, setting things in order is the key here. Torah Rabbah.
Absolutely. May the Most High be praised. Any other questions or comments, family? Are there any other questions or comments? Are there any other questions or comments? We'll be back today at 4 o'clock. On the 4 o'clock time, we'll be back to give our second portion of our class. I believe we're in Genesis 19, 20, and 21 possibly. But for certainty, 19 and 20 we should be covering. Creator willing, everything, creator willing, everything, always. All right, family. If there's no more questions or comments, I thank you all for being in participation. Thank you all for contributing. But let me say something before we leave. Classes like this is creating the future of Israel. It's creating how we do what we do that makes us unified as a people. Y'all understand what I'm saying? Culture is what enriches us. But today's lesson is helping us to formalize our culture. Now, once all of our Israelite people begin to do their funeral services or put their deceased away the same way from the beginning, from watching them in the hospital to making sure somebody stays with the body after they deceased, even in the cemeteries, the funeral homes, and, getting death certificates from authorized people in our community, bathing the bodies, perfuming the bodies, saying prayers and rituals, all those things over the bodies, and then having the body put in the ground from all the way to the casket, the type of casket that you choose. And the casket should be a pine box or some type of wood box, no metal, no steel, no concrete, none of those things. Some cemeteries are going to force you to put your remains, the persons you love remains, in a vault. You don't want to be at that cemetery. So a vault is a concrete block. And then they got a metal casket that the body goes into. The body goes into a metal casket. The metal casket goes into a concrete vault. The concrete vault sits in the dirt. That body will almost never decay. Right. Almost never get back to where it's supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So you don't want to bury anyone where they're demanding that you put a vault in the ground. And you want to be skeptical about places where they're demanding that you put a casket in the ground. Right. And if you do put a casket in the ground, make sure there's no vault and make sure that your casket is made out of wood so it can deteriorate easier. Mm-hmm. All right. But we are setting up an institution right now that a lot of our people don't have the faintest idea of what we're doing. All right. We have to begin to understand that the more of us that do this, and do it in a fashion that's being brought forward, the stronger we are in unity. We don't all have to be together to be unified in certain things. All we need to do is move with the same intention and the same energy and the same spirit, and we're unified. So this can be the beginning of something great for so many of us who are not aware of how to move as a community. This can be the beginnings. You can practice this in your own place at your own time, in your own way, when things similar to this takes place. You can always get on the phone, call Prince, and ask Prince. I'm sure somebody got my phone number. Ask somebody you know. Do you have Prince Israel, Prince Kazari Dar, Yisrael's phone number? I need to talk to him about my loved ones, my deceased. You'd be surprised. That's why when something happens with Prince, it's worldwide, because so many people knows of Prince. And I'm not saying it to blow my horn. I'm just saying the difference between me and a common man, common men, something happened with them, it's not that big of a deal. But when something happened with Prince, everybody got to make a big fuss. But I bet you if something happened to me on the negative side and we went away from this place, how many people will step up to take the rings and say, hey, I got this. Y'all sisters, y'all Nashim, y'all can stay back. We brothers, we got this. I like to see that happen. I don't want to see that happen, not at all. I don't want to see it happen, but you know, it will be a beautiful time and a beautiful day when those type of things happen. All right? So let's keep it in mind, family. These are very important lessons that we're having today. Very important conversations, very important doings. And let's cause it to be. This is just another way of unifying us. And as I said earlier in the lesson, all these things is what I've learned, an accumulation of years, my personal experiences, things that the Creator's brought to me, revealed to me, and shown me. I brought it to you today. And I pray that you use these things to your service in how you see best. May the Most High be with you all. Shabbat Shalom Lakim.